Good evening, model railroaders, and welcome back to the Second Section podcast, where it's just regular folks talking about model railroading. I am your host, Andy Dorsch, and joining me this evening with the beautiful LS&I t-shirt. Look at, there's Dusty there. Mike Ostertag. Mike, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
I got a brand new order from Mohawk, so it's
Mohawk Designs
sponsor. Yeah, whole Mohawk Designs. So I got a bunch of shirts. So I'll be wearing a bunch of these. So
and in the studio with us tonight from the YouTube channel Boomer Dioramas. Boomer, welcome
Hey, how you
back.
guys doing? Hey man, thanks for having me on. I was looking forward to this all summer, working on that, trying to get it ready.
What's in the background there?
Yeah, the Ferry, the carrier princess. There she is, right?
Oh my goodness!
Her out tonight. Yeah. So, what a build! Yeah.
So that was just, we were talking about it in the show a little bit. How long did you say it took you to get that one done altogether?
So I started it in April 15th, and then I finished it. Well, I just finished it. Just I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago or whatever, right? So,
holy man!
Yeah. We'll get a good look at her later. Like, we'll work our way down there, right?
So that's a really good point to bring up. So Boomer's been on the show now. This is what, your fourth time back?
Yeah. I'm getting close to the jacket, Andy.
Yeah. The next time.
Gore-Tex, right? Gore-Tex, yeah. Andy. Gore-Tex, yep. Second Section podcast.
Yep. It's basically the what is it? The members only jacket. Is what he's going towards here. But it's going to be a really, really great show tonight. So tonight we're gonna walk through some operations on River Road here, and talk about.
Sure, yeah.
And then you're going to basically show us how this section down here, down to the Carrier Princess, works operationally. And then what else did we have in store after the ops? What else are we going to talk about this evening?
So I was going to basically do a sort of a mini sample of the ops, like the ferry ops.
Yeah.
On the layout, and just mention some of the other operational options. Actually, there's quite a bit on here, like, which is really prototypical too, right? Like, especially on section 1, like in terms of action steel, the transload, the warehouse, the brewery, and the ferry. Like, that's the way it is on the prototype. So it was, crying to be modeled. That's why I basically started this layout to begin with, and because it had all that opportunities there. And then there's the giveaways, right?
Oh, yes.
Certificates, right, for all the lucky people on the show.
Yes. So I guess we shouldn't be too coy about it. So tonight our show actually has a sponsor. So it's going to be our sponsor this evening is Intercity Trains and Hobbies. Yeah. And so I'm going to have the ticker running up all night long. So Ken and the crew at Intercity have been gracious to give us some merchandise to give away on tonight's show. And so we're going to do the typical StreamYard giveaway fun. And we're going to basically have the show split up into 3 segments this evening. First, we're going to talk about the ops. We'll do a giveaway. And then we're going to talk about some scenery stuff. I think Duncan Way is what you wanted to share with us, and a little demo there. And then finally, we're going to talk about another scenery tip. So not only are we going to talk about the layout, the modeler, but we're also going to, give the modeler some value tonight on some stuff that they can take away and try on their layouts at home. So I'm super jacked for this. Mike, what do you think?
Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. This has been a long time coming too. This isn't the first time we've tried getting you on. It was a busy summer for everybody, wasn't it?
It was.
It was nothing. The stars just never aligned, really. So it was just, yeah.
Well, I wanted to get the ferry done. Actually, I was going to come on in the spring. Remember, I sort of mentioned it. And then I thought, I want to get something a little more significant, which means the next show, right? I kind of, maybe it'll be IPEX Plastics, like this next industry that I'll be working on this winter too. But for all the, the second section crew and all the subscribers were probably really chomping at the bit to see that one done. But
yeah. That's good. So you're just kind of talking just to kind of tee things up here. So you've had a really, really busy summer modeling. So not only were you doing the Carrier Princess, but you also, for folks who don't know, you have your own YouTube channel out there.
Boomer Diorama.
Yeah. And you post shows once a week,
one a
twice
week, but then it's taken a while. Like it's about 3 years old officially, the channel. It just sort of started out. Somebody had told me about 3 years ago. Well, my wife was sort of behind it. She said, "You're bored, or if you're bored, you should just do what you used to do and just make a channel out of it." And then I think I mentioned before, like I started out as a kid just as building models on the kitchen table, right? Just like and lived close to a hobby shop, a brick and mortar hobby shop, long before this, right?
Yeah.
And delivering newspapers to buy the Bachman FP7 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And
but $20 is $20.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I think I still have a old Athearn, like Jeep 35 or something from way back then. But so I did a lot of military modeling too, right? Like, I don't know if I mentioned that. Like, I was always building small shelf layouts because I never had the space. Because growing up as a kid, I grew up with, like 3 brothers, 2 in each room kind of thing, right? It's pretty hard to have a layout in that situation. But so I always was building models though. Loved painting figurines, like building models, like plastic kits, like a lot of monogram Airfix kits, and reading the old model railroad rag magazines. And I just thought it was a great medium for, like, if you were really into miniatures and wanted to paint and try different subjects, model railroading is the best hobby there is. I mean, it's so deep, right? Like, I mean, if you want to do buildings, you can. If you want to do details, scenery, you get a bit of animation, super detailing cars. I mean, it's just an awesome medium for anyone that's creative, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's endless. It's really endless. And your channel breaks all of it down. I mean, you leave no stone unturned on there. I mean, you talk about everything that you just mentioned in passing here, even the carpentry piece, for the benchwork and stuff. So tonight, what are we looking at here in front of us? Tell us a little bit about your layout for those who don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So basically this layout is right now, as it stands, there's 3 sections, right? Like this is section 1 right here. And when I designed it, as 3 sections. Like when I framed up, like I did all the bench work, which is really simple frames, which I think I showed a couple episodes back. And then I built the top valance up here exactly the same in terms of the framing. So I have a fascia, and then a like the upper fascia is really what you would call a valance, right?
Right.
So you get this shadow box effect for lighting and sound, whatever, and the sort of diorama style scene, really, which is kind of what a model railroad is in a lot of ways, right? Like just they're all different styles. You have open ones, you have, all the different styles of model railroads. But I was more interested in like sort of last mile operations, like local scenes, like, the end of the line, so to speak, right? Like for the engine, the non-foamers. Mike.
Yeah. What about
there's no notch 8 here, right? There's no notch 8 on this layout. It's all 15 miles an hour, right?
Right.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna bring up here. We got a question here from David F. Says, hey, so can we get you to touch on the layout height?
Yeah. Okay. So just to show you the proof, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Here is my tape, and it's 57, 58 inches.
Wow.
It's all flat. Like the whole layout is the same grade. I mean, there are some dips. Like if you got a really good roller, like I've noticed on a few spots, like down by the brewery, like there might be like a 0.2, and if it's a good roller, the car will roll away just like it would in the real world, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Like a full hopper, man. 0.2 grade and it's gone.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's all flat. So because the whole intention was flat switching, slow speed, flat switching. Otherwise, cars will roll away on you. And then, like where the water is down here, like this is just lower, right? It's another level on the layout. But the challenge to this was like, because I already knew what I wanted to do for operations was to have this marine terminal, and then like a couple of associated, like the transload action steel, and then the warehouse and the brewery. But the biggest challenge was getting the tide right. Believe it or not. Oh yeah, it was like that was the biggest challenge of all, because everything dictates like the shore, like the actual barge ramp. Even though it pivots like the ramp, it had to be level, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't use it. Like you can't have a, you know, you can't have this.
So does your
right?
does your tide,
the tide
does the tide actually dictate the time of the, like, quote unquote time of day that the model railroad is, like, because
not
I mean
really, because the tides are controlled by moon cycles and everything, right?
Right.
But the actual ramp, like we'll come down here with another camera like a little bit later, but like right here, there's a pivot here. Like this is all prototypical, right? So on the real barge, like the ramp, like if the tide is lower or higher, it pivots. So in reality, on the prototype, there is like a dip.
It like floats, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, there's a bumpity bump on the real train, I'm sure. But they try to get the tide right, like I imagine they do. I could probably research that more. That's the one thing about this hobby too, eh? Like you can get caught, you know. Come on now, you need to research more. But
rabbit hole.
Yeah, I remember the guys on the Green Bay and Western, a bunch of the old heads when in Kewanee they had ferry operations over there, and I remember them saying the same thing, that you could the ferry would be backing in, and you could just, if the sea was, or if the lake, if Lake Michigan was a little rough that day, all you could see is that dock moving up and down and up and down and up and down. It was all pivoting from one spot, just going right like this, and you know, it made it very difficult to try to get the boat docked, you know. And
it must be a real challenge, eh? Like the thing is with this one was so the reason why I call this River Road was, well, okay, so you can name your railroad after the real railroad if you want, right? Like you can name your Milwaukee road layout the Milwaukee Road, right?
Right.
But actually the main office is on River Drive, but I didn't want to kind of plagiarize that road. So I just said, okay, so the layout will be called River Road because the main theme is the Fraser River, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like this is up the river a ways by Annacis Island, so it's tidal, way like 50 miles up, like east up the Fraser Valley. This river, the mighty Fraser River, that's the south arm, right? Like one of the biggest rivers in the world, right? But it's tidal, right? So the Howe Sound, the water goes up 50 miles past this, and the water goes up and down like quite a bit. So that's why on the ramp you see the tide marks on the side. It's got the pivot. It's got these hydraulic. Well, you'll see them more later, but it's got these hydraulic rams, and it just, like, I don't know if it's automated, but they can control it, and it probably does have a system to make sure that it kind of adjusts, you know, when the ferry locks in, right?
Yeah.
You know,
so it can pivot with it.
Yeah, so it can pivot and float with it, you know. But because I guess the tide can move pretty quick. But I think they plan it all when they offload and load. And basically, like, you know, the main sort of primary operation is like all the traffic that'll come in off that ferry comes usually from like Vancouver Island, paper mills, up the coast of BC, even Washington, whatever. So all the traffic that comes off that ferry or it goes out is really bridge traffic on this layout. It will go down off of to so there'll be section 4 and 5 eventually. I haven't started 3 yet. Well, I'm sort of planning 3, like right here. Like we're going to talk about this at the end. I'll tell you what's going on a little bit here. But when the ferry like brings in tank cars, grain cars, it's probably coming from Welcock's Yard on Vancouver Island, like the old E&N Railroad, which is actually owned by, it's called SVI, right? So South Vancouver Island, like Southern British Columbia Railroad, SRY. So the owner, Washington Corp, owns SVI on the island as well. And they only service like Superior Propane now. They've pretty much ran out of customers over there. Yeah. So a lot of the ops is like 2010, right? Like this layout period times 2010.
Wow. That's cool.
That is so cool.
So, because you can see on the ferry, it doesn't have the meatball yet, eh?
Oh, it doesn't?
Okay, like, yeah, like, you know how I talked about, let me pull these guys up. Like, remember how I talked about, like, you know, the meatball on the side here? Light here. Let me put this light on here so you can see. Okay, so see the, like the meatball logo there?
Oh,
Rail link, right? So this logo was painted on that ferry just before its demise. It was called C-span ferries and had the big, like this same line had Washington Corp logo on it. And then they just phased it out because it was, you know, overdue, right? Like
yeah.
It was on borrowed time, the Carrier Princess. It's an ex-CP boat. It was built in Burrard Dry Dock in Vancouver by Canadian Pacific. And then it was sold off to C-span, right? So when I talk about that a few episodes back on the channel, I explained some of the history of it. But when I saw the boat, like I thought, what a classic 70s, you know, I mean, I like the 70s, right? But this is 2010, but all the equipment is like the locomotives are all original equipment. Like they're all from the 70s, late 60s, 70s. Like all their locomotives on SRY are EMDs mostly, right? And they're all from the 70s. Still running today. Like they're all rebuilt, right? Some are repainted, you know, they've been painted like half a dozen times. And, you know, that ship was built in 76, right? So it's a 100-mile long short line that's still like successful short line because of the auto rack industry on Annacis Island. But that's another story, right? Yeah. Well, no, it is, right? Because like I was wondering about it, like how could 2 locomotives like this, like 2 6-axle locomotives be whipping by my place with 1 hopper on the back going to Chilliwack? Like what? Like how does the railroad stay in business to do that? Auto racks. They have a monopoly on the auto rack industry on the West Coast here because the big auto carriers, they come up the South Arm, the same as this, past this, up a little ways, like maybe 2 miles. And they offload all the automobiles onto Annacis Island. And guess who owns the track that's on Annacis Island, right?
Oh, yeah. The meatball.
The meatball owns it, right? So guess what, CNCP, BNSF? You don't get the cars unless we bring them across Lulu Island Bridge to you, right? You know,
the meatball.
Which is another part that I want to build. It's a bit of a sneak peek, but I want to do the Lulu Island Bridge as well, like another section. That's kind of in the plan. But one of the challenges to doing a shelf layout like this is, I know there's a lot of talk about, you know, people say stuff like, well, when you do a small layout like this, you know, the train's in one town and the rear end's in the other kind of thing, right?
Right.
Like with here, like if I'm switching a full cut of cars, like I'm down here. Like I'm way down here, pulling like a full string off that ferry to here.
Right.
Right? And then it's got to go straight off, like the prototype. Like they would just take the full cut down the next track siding and then, you know, rearrange and then classify it, load up what's around, if they even have any on that day, and then off they go across Lulu Island Bridge to New Westminster or whatever, or the interchange with BNSF, CNCP. But the thing about with this layout is, though, is even though this was prototypical, right, I kind of freelanced this section as a transitional zone, so it didn't feel like 2 separate towns. It just feels like the same scene. Even though these buildings are in New Westminster, like this is like a lot of New West, like the Slum Landlord, are actually built exactly, well, almost exactly. I've covered that too. Like the whole channel, like the channel's funny because you mentioned earlier, like what, you started the channel and everything. Like somebody had said, I forget his name. I think his name is Vic. I wonder if he's watching the show, but sorry if I forgot.
Just
But,
diving them out.
yeah, I know he's going to give it to me now. But he said, show everything. Right. And I'm like, whoa. Like he said, yeah, just archive it all. Like build the layout. And I thought, hey, that's not a bad idea. I'll just build the layout. I'll do videos, archive it. And then it's sort of evolved. Right.
Yeah.
And then I realized that because people are spending 15 minutes, half an hour of their time, like they're investing. Like people say stuff like, well, even YouTube wanted me to do memberships, but I don't want to do memberships because the people that watch the channel, they already spend time money. Like they're 15, 20 minutes. Like that's half an hour of their time is money to watch and support the show. So I thought, well, I better give back, right? Like I better start giving good production. Like that's kind of how I've sort of evolved the show and to where it's at now. It's sort of a give and take kind of shared community that way. And I want to do the best to give them education and inspiration based on my experience as I build this whole layout, which will be 5 sections now. Like in my final, there's 3 here, and I'll be starting. Well, I have 2. Like this goes down 3 feet still. Section 2.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
you got a lot of work in front of you yet. This layout's just getting started. Man.
Well, that's what's so awesome about like the shelf layout genre. Like I really think like there'll always be big layouts, right?
Yeah.
Because this hobby touches everyone's life from every walk of life. It's no respecter of social class, right? Like from just the kid doing Lego to right up to, well, I mean, I could name some names. I won't, but people. I mean, I worked for people that were, very, philanthropists. Everything, like people that have that just hire people to build like awesome layouts for them, and I don't blame them. They don't have the time. That's how they acquired their wealth, right? And they would love to do, and they're good modelers too, some of them, because I've met them and worked for them. Like they're really good modelers, but they just don't have the time to build a big layout, but they want a layout too. Now there'll always be those layouts and there'll be people that build them, but I think the younger generation can still do everything there is to do with the hobby and be totally content and have a really great operation in a 10 by 12 room. That's what this is, a 10 by 12 room, or 11 by 12.
I mean,
right?
I'm sitting in an 11 by 16 room, right? And I got a lot of layout going on. So this, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Mike. You're in the same boat.
Yeah, my layout is a little different, but it's because obviously I'm a different scale. I'm not an HO, but my room size is 11 by 30. But I chose to, instead of filling the room full of layout, I'm just going 18 inches deep all the way along the 30-inch and then only coming out about 8 feet from one wall because I want to have like a bookcase and stuff like that and have like
you're not
like a little
filling
library.
The whole room.
Yeah, I want to have like this little library vibe going on at the very end of the layout. So it's it'll be kind of neat once it's all done and well, my bench work is done. So I'm happy with that. So now I can just focus on trying to do
getting the good stuff now.
Getting the good stuff down now, yeah. So
yeah,
well, see, Mike, like you touch on that kind of philosophical way, like with model railroads, like it depends what you want. Like look at Grant Eastman, the Southern Alberta Rail. Did you see his last video? Like he had to tear a huge section out.
Yes.
He's a riot, man. Like I don't know, it was something in his basement. The contractor couldn't get at the heater or something. I don't know. He said, nope, you got to remove that. He said, I'm not touching it otherwise. The guy took like, I don't know, it looked like 20 or 30 feet or something, right? And he just redesigned it, like the run. Like, and it's just like got this long cold drag, and it's just like mind-blowing. That's why N is so awesome when you want to do that kind of, rail fanning or that kind of enthusiasm for the railroad in that way. Whereas this is like, you can't do that with this space. Well, you could in Z scale, but like with Mike, like you're an engineer, so you understand this, right? Like you understand
Yeah.
that like, okay, I got two cars, I got to flip them. I got 2 hours or 3 hours to do it or something,
Yeah, I like my layout. My whole thing is I'm designing it to immerse the operators in the experience, not so much to feel like the whole room and every piece of wood with a piece of track. So like there's certain things like I used to work on a line, a spur track that we would have to shove out there. So my whole railroad is you're starting at one location where the runaround and interchange is, and then you have to shove back to town. But along the way, you've got to go over a bridge. You have to stop at a crossing because the circuitry is so old that you have to get right up to the crossing in order to get the lights to work. There's
Yeah,
there's a
right.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Like
And
Lance Minheim talks about that,
yeah,
right?
these are things that we
Yeah.
actually deal with every single day on the railroad, and so, I'm going to have a diamond where it's a fake diamond, but it's part of the interchange, but you have to run time in order to get the light because the light's always against you. So
Yeah,
it's,
right.
that's kind of these are all things that I've experienced in my 32-year career so far working on the railroad and trying to put them into a layout. There's sometimes get too much up here to try to put out there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Yep.
you just kind of got to pick and choose some of the things. And that I couldn't find a prototype that I could do justice to, or even a
Right.
portion of it that I could do justice to. And that's how the Farland terminal came to be. But yeah.
So
Which is S scale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm doing it in S on top of that. So I'm a glutton for punishment.
Well, it's funny because if this was S scale, like this is 16 feet to here, right? To the end of the ferry to here.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in a linear length, it's 16 feet, right?
Yeah.
So this layout, when it's done, will be just over 30 feet. But it's like, if I built this in S, like if I redesigned it and converted like as close as I could, like this wouldn't even be in view. Like this would be way down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the actual ramp itself would be 8 feet long. Like just the ramp and like 3 miles, like in HO, like to model 3 miles in HO scale, like you need well, you couldn't even do it in 2,000 square feet. It'd be really hard to do, right? Like an actual sort of like being faithful to equal compression for each square foot to each square mile is what I mean, right? Like you always have to go like this, right? You just gotta crush everything. Like you got to pick out. Like for me, it was horrible because there's so many scenes on this railroad that I wanted to model. Like I wanted to model the bridge and the Y down in Kitsana where I grew up as a kid. Like when these were all yellow livery, like BC Hydro. Like I used to hang out down there when I was a kid. Like on the tracks. Like it was right by the beach, and so I grew up around this railroad, which is one of the reasons why I chose to model it later in life because it was always collecting photos. It was always in the back of my mind. But it was like, what scenes do I have to delete?
That's what comes in that's where it gets to be hard as a layout, is when you're designing your layout, is because I remember I think in one of your earlier videos, didn't you talk about the difference, or didn't we talk about that on the show one time? There's a difference between selective compression and what was the other, like,
and deletion
and crushing,
deletion,
or deletion.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, and so where, when you get a layout like this, you're absolutely right. You have to pick and choose, and hopefully you choose right, because the last thing you want to do is start tearing things up and say, this didn't work.
So
but I think the only thing that'll really haunt you really in the end, I think, like you bring up a good point, like doing it right. Like I don't think it really matters, like apart from the track plan, it doesn't really matter. Like, let me give you an example. Like you see this building right here, right? It's 20351, and then this is Duncan Way, right?
Yeah.
So this building and the IPEX plastics and this crossing are quite faithful to the prototype. And I might as well show you the overpass, right, Andy?
Yeah, I think you have to bring it in.
I was going to ask you if the overpass was still going to be a thing.
So this is the 2/14 overpass, which is exactly like the prototype. Like I basically measured this part of the bridge.
Wow.
So you can see like how it changes, like the whole layout, like in terms of how big it looks now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
It makes it look, looks like you're so far away now.
Yeah. So this is like a scene divider. So this was the problem that I was facing. So how do I get from Annacis Island? Like, let me just move this. I'll put it back on again, but so I can point something out. Like, how do I get from Annacis Island to Langley? Because I want to get to Langley because section 3 is going to be the Milner grain operation, right? Which was a landmark. They tore it down. It's another story. But when I get down to that part, like on the channel, I'll explain a lot of that. But I already built the grain elevator, half of it. So like section 3 is basically like Glover Road version 2, but done properly. Like the first Glover Road I did was kind of a whimsical kind of, just going to dive in. I've been away for a while. But I want to dedicate just section 3 to that particular location. But then here's the problem. How do I get from Annacis Island and go through New West and get to Langley? Like this is Langley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, how do I do that? Like from here to there without, you know what I mean? Like, how do I crush, 20 miles? So what I did was I thought, well, I'll use this. Like I had a real struggle with this scene, actually. I talked about it. I'm really glad I did it because it's very indicative of the region. It really says British Columbia, right?
Yes.
And it's actually, and there's a big stand of trees on Annacis Island like this in the same spot, but it's on this side of the tracks. So I thought, well, I can't put that here because I'm going to lose all my view, right? So I basically use it as a transition. And then these buildings are New West. So I sandwiched the two scenes as a transition, like an overlapping transitional zone. So I freelanced two prototypical buildings together.
Oh, that's awesome.
So when I come down like this, I can deal with it. Like it's okay, right? It's very like it's not jarring. Oh yeah, there's kind of New West. And look at the alley. That's all freelance, the alleyway part that I did. And now I'm at Ipex Plastics, which is where I cross like almost every day when I go to work. And then when I put this in and I'm operating like on section 1 from back here, this I can't pay attention to Ipex Plastic because it's blocked by the overpass. I'm not even thinking about because I'm focused right here, switching, right?
Yeah.
And it's always railroad.
Yes.
Make sure it's always railroad, right? Like in front of you, I mean.
Yeah, right. So you don't have anything just impeding your view.
Yeah, right. Like that's what it's about, right? Like somebody asked a really good question on the channel, like where's the big cottonwood trees? Like here, let me move this again, and you'll notice how these are like this thing was built quite robust because I knew I'd be handling it a lot like that. So I had a big stand of cottonwoods in here for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
So like at first I was looking at it and this is the kind of thing that happens when you're trying to develop composition. It takes a long time. Like it really does. Like you have to try stuff and then just sleep on it. And it sort of got to the point where, okay, even though the trees are scale, like they were this high, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's another topic. Hold on, let me grab my ruler, my HL scale ruler. So remember, I don't know if you remember people, they'd see a tree this high, right? Okay, yep. So this is 85 feet. This is an HL scale ruler, right?
Yep.
85 feet, right? Do you know how big the trees are? Like, do you know what the mean average of British Columbia trees are?
120.
Yeah, well, I have trees out here 180 feet, and there's redwoods and 180-foot cottonwoods all down the main down here. Like, that's the way BC is, right? So Yeah, so here I had these 85-foot cottonwoods here, right? Prototypically accurate, but they didn't look right. Just,
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
So
Yeah.
Boomer, do you sometimes take a look at some of these things when you're looking at, like, when you're designing like River Road and things like that, and you look at it when you start talking about compression, like, of how we were talking about, you got to sandwich things in to make the scene, like you said, you had to freelance the two scenes, or you did freelance the two scenes. That sometimes is where I look at larger layouts and I get a little jealous, because the helix can suck up a lot of mileage. Like you can suck like I know we say it and talk about Luke Lemon's Sue Second Sub on here all the time, but like from Nina West to Antone East is like, I think it's like 15 or 20 miles, something like that. And it's all sucked up in a helix. And you don't need to model that. All of a sudden you come, you're just going around, and all of a sudden you're 20 miles farther down the main line than you were,
and you're only a couple of feet away in a linear way.
In a linear way, you're only a few feet away.
And it's coming off the tunnel. Yeah, and that's totally feasible. Like, that's how you have to do
Yeah.
that. Like that's just hidden compression, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's where those big layout guys have kind of an advantage with the compression things, And Andy, I know you've done a little compressing on some portions of your layout too, haven't you?
I've had to. I mean, there's just the ore dock is, I'd want it to be 1,500 feet long, but I just don't have the space. And I do want to have a replica of the Arthur M. Anderson in there, taking ore off the ore dock, but I don't have the space, so I'm gonna have to make a concession. So yeah. But Boomer, what do you got lined up here for us?
Well, Andy, we want to give some cars away, don't we?
Oh, we want to give some stuff away. We were very
like giveaways.
To the lucky second section. Oh yeah. So these. Okay. So I just want to say. So Ken and Chris at Intercity Trains and Hobbies, the new brick and mortar store, which is the best #1 store in Western Canada. These are Exact Rail Platinum. Okay, they're platinum cars. Like, they're not made anymore. Like, these are. I think Scale Trains bought these.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, I think they did. Right. Anyway, so these cars are top of the line, and they're as good as they get, right? So in the goodness of their hearts, they said, we want to give some cars away. There's 4 tonight. So what, Andy, we were talking about what we do last night, we'll give this car and then these 2 as a pair, because they go together. And then there's the big new Scale Trains full sound LED on the gen set reefer car, right? Like the most recent edition. Like, it's awesome, right? As well as these.
We last night's pre-show meeting, I was gobsmacked to see that reefer. That is a real amazing model.
This car's got all the coupler lift bars, the air hoses, the 58 couplers. It's beautiful, right?
Oh,
it really is.
This thing is so awesome.
Yeah, I know,
Exact Rail is so good.
Oh, they're beautiful.
So I think what we'll do is, in honor of our guest, our sponsor for the show this evening, what we'll do is we're going to collect comments here with hashtag Intercity. So that's put that into the chat, and StreamYard will start grabbing your entries. So to enter to win this car, type in hashtag Intercity into the chat, and you'll get an entry into the giveaway here.
Somehow I got a feeling we're going to get a boatload here tonight. I've been keeping an eye. If you watch me every once in a while and I glance down and it looks like I'm writing something,
got over 30 already.
I'm keeping track of how many and when we hit certain marks with people in the chat. This has been absolutely phenomenal. It's
Yeah.
absolutely outstanding. The guy, I mean, we have such a, I mean, everybody loves you, Boomer. I mean, come on.
Gotta
dude.
get- hey, oh yeah, so just tell you, not this one. This one's not going
Ooh.
tonight.
The piggyback.
Well, I love this car. This is okay, Rapido, right?
Oh yeah.
I'll give them like hashtag no sponsor, right? But they really knocked it out of the park with this, with the TOFC and the Reimer piggyback. It's just gorgeous. But
It's beauty.
they're all beautiful. Like all the cars now that are coming out, they're so nice, right?
Oh
They really are.
yeah, I mean
They are.
Rapido's top of the line. You have the exact rail. If you can grab an exact rail, don't hesitate.
Yeah,
Tangent.
I got a few up there.
Yeah, if you're at a train show and you see an exact rail car and you think,
Grab
"Wow,
it."
I'll just come back a little later and grab it," it's gonna be gone. So you
This
better.
is nice, but wait till you see these. We'll look at these after, but like they're all nice, right?
So Boomer, did you want to take the time now while we're collecting entries for the drawing, to do your first quote unquote wardrobe change here for the evening and set up the camera for ops, or do you want to do the ops here and then move cameras midway through? How did you want to handle that?
Yeah. Okay. So last night we sort of rehearsed this, didn't we? Because we had an issue.
Yeah.
Like just so everybody knows, I have like 5 cameras on the little HD. Actually, they're 4K, some of them cameras. But we had a problem with the selector, right? So I apologize. But we figured out how to use 3 of them. So
Which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, there'll just be a short, like backstage blackboard for a couple of seconds. But okay, so whenever you draw for this car, then I'll move that one out of the way, and then we can do an ops run down to the ferry, and then deal with these cars on the way back, and then there's the other car as well, right?
Okay, so all right, well, let's finish up the drawing here then. So I got 80 entries in there right now. For the BNSF exact rail box car. I'm going to bring up on screen here. Make sure you get your entry in. I'm going to share my screen on the StreamYard giveaway.
Can I enter?
No, you cannot. You are not allowed, Mike. You are absolutely.
I ask that every show.
So let's see here.
One of these times you're going to say yes.
I might not, but right now we are set here. We got, what is it, 82? Get them in. I'm going to hit the button here.
Hey, Joe, Michael, send you one.
There you go. There you go. All right. So we are going to spin the wheel here and do the drawing. So good luck to everybody. Here we go. I just love seeing all the names.
For this.
We need music.
You need sound or something for this.
James Wilmus.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
So James, what I need you to do tonight is I need you to send me an email at secondsectionpodcast@gmail.com and send me your mailing address, and I will relay that to Boomer, and we will get that car out post haste. So congratulations, James, and enjoy the beautiful exact rail brought to you by Boomer and the good folks over at Inner City Trains and Hobbies.
I like his picture there. That's kind of neat.
The caboose? Yeah.
Yeah. Who doesn't love a good caboose?
Nice little avatar there. Yeah.
That was good.
Good. Andy. So before we go down to the ferry, do you want to clear the track here? And
okay.
So these are a pair, right?
Bigger,
the prizes get bigger.
The prizes are getting bigger. Do you want to give those away right away then too? So then we can get into the ops.
Yeah, because we got another one to give away too, and then some ops and a few other things, and then we were talking about doing a little sort of scenery thing here. And
yes. So okay. So all right, folks, I'm gonna reset the tool here. So we're gonna do this.
So these cars here, I just want to point out, so these 2 cars here, there was about 30 of these that came in on an estate sale, at Intercity. They
Mm.
get estate sales all the time. So you got to check their webpage because they come and go really fast. So Ken says, "Oh, I sold all 30. I think it was 30. So I grabbed 2, right? No, I can sell this. No, I take these for the show. Like, these are the nicest, like, coal cars I've ever seen. Like, they're like, even the coal loads aren't like, it's not the same coal load, like, from car to car. They're different. Like, that's how much Exact Rail thought these things through, right? Like, you can see the profile of the coal. It's heavier on this side, lower here, and this one has a different shape to it. Like, they are gorgeous, right?
Exact Rail. I wish they were still around. They're such good stuff. All right, so then we're gonna put the hashtag estate up, and I'm gonna get Boomer on the big screen here, so you can see. Oh, so that one's the Indianapolis Power and Light. So we're gonna do another giveaway here. So throw in estate, hashtag estate, and it's on screen into the chat here. Let's see how many we're up to already. Ooh, we got 40 in just like a few seconds here. That's really good. So throw your name in, and I mean, these Boomer are really sharp looking cars.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Good rollers too.
Yeah, so this one here is actually patched, black on black patch. You can see it. I don't know if you can notice it on the camera, but they've basically been patched and Denver and Rio Grande paint, like, like the new reporting marks.
So that's Denver, Rio Grande, and Western, and then you got the Indianapolis Power and Light. That's cool. I just love the Power and Light cars. They're
beautiful
cool.
cars.
Yeah. So
it's got the little electricity dude on the side of it too, right? The little the guy that has the lightning bolt or whatever you call it.
Yeah. So if you want to put your hat in the ring to win the pair of these cars, we're going to ask that you in the chat enter in hashtag estate, because these were part of an estate that Intercity Trains and Hobbies. They do quite a bit with estate stuff and have a fairly elaborate website that talks about that. So make sure you're getting the estate into the chat. We'll draw for these shortly here. So once we get these cars out of the way, then Boomer, what's the plan here?
Yeah, so let's head down with this tank car and we'll do a sampling of loading the Ferry.
Okay.
We'll just fire up these EMDs here, Mike.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I love switch engines.
Okay, so I'll go down to the transload down there, and then I'll switch cameras when I get down there so you can see the approach to the Ferry. And then we'll go to the Ferry and see the car coming in, right?
Yeah. So what's scale speed here, Boomer, on the layout?
So there's no fast clocks here, and it's 15, and its top speed is 15 miles an hour.
All right. You can see that he's got the flat cars there with the tank.
But I'll speed it up a bit just for the sake of the.
Oh no, we spare no time here at Second Section. As you know, our shows will run long from time to time.
So you can see. So there's three idler cars here, right?
Yes.
We'll just stop it here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch cameras. Make sure I put the brake on, Mike?
Yep. You don't want them rolling away on you.
Okay, I'm going to do the switcheroo here, Andy.
Okay, we're going to take Boomer down as he does his first wardrobe change here. But I want you guys to all keep.
Oh, and you had to put me first.
Yeah.
Center? Oh my God. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everybody.
There. We'll tighten it up. We'll tighten up the shot, and we'll wait for Boomer to get back.
That's a nice shirt.
Isn't it? It is nice. Beautiful.
This one comes in this one or red. You can get them either. And I thought the green was I always like the green.
So as the folks are drawing here, I do want to bring attention to our sponsor tonight. In Intercity Trains and Hobbies, and this is so unlike us, right?
Right.
But I got a phone call from Boomer, and he's like, "You got to talk to this guy." And I said, "Okay, I'll definitely get on the horn with him. And boy, what a great guy. We talked for probably about a half an hour just about random stuff, trains, train shows, hobby shop stuff. And, you know, Boomer and Ken from Inner City, they worked this out already behind the scenes, unbeknownst to us, but they were willing to pitch in. So I do want to bring up their website. It's like, and so I'm going to go to their about page first. Just look at their store. How clean it is.
I know, isn't that just? I was looking at some of these pictures earlier, and everything is, and it's going to sound really weird, but it's very symmetrical.
No, it doesn't sound weird at all.
Everything is so clean. Everything is, it doesn't look like there's a thing out of place.
No, it's a beautiful store. And what's really, really cool about this, now, if you haven't been here, look at this. They have North American and then they have European models as well.
Isn't
How
that
cool
awesome?
is that?
That is very, very cool.
I mean, they have something for everybody here. I thought this hobby shop, I know we had talked to Boomer about getting them on the show. Maybe it was a while back, and like, oh, we got to get that website. We got to get it done right. And man, this is the real deal. Like I said, and just talking with these guys, they're, good folks, and I'm glad that they were able to help kick in tonight. They got train sets here. Look at some of these. Whoa.
It's a little bit of, wow,
Broadway,
that's actually a pretty nice price too for
good deal
for Broadway Limited. Wow.
Yeah. and then I think we were talking, like, they have the Christmas starter sets here. You can shop by brand, very good website. Oh yeah, and then they have their vehicles and stuff too. So very cool.
And they have like a brass collection too. I thought I saw something where they sell brass, like quite a bit of it. Oh yeah, right down here where it says brass trains. I was just so I mean, yeah.
Look at this. There's no picture available, but HO scale Milwaukee, Little Joe, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, geez.
So and I think it was someone in the chat said tonight that they live in Texas in the United States, right?
Yeah.
And they get orders from Inner City. So they ship to the United States.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yes. So if you guys have time, I have them in the show notes, and then I'll share there's the websites trailing on the ticker tonight on screen, and I'll throw it in the chat as well. Make sure you guys stop and check out Inner City Trains and Hobbies, tonight's show sponsor. So we can't thank them enough for what they've done, setting a Boomer and us up to give away some really cool equipment.
Oh, Peter Tillman says they ship to Australia as well.
Really? That's not. That's awesome. All right. Yeah, so let's see if Boomer's back with us here.
Hey.
All right. So I think
that was a nice plug there, Andy. I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
Well, I mean, just talking with them, it was pretty cool. So I'm gonna bring you up on the solo layout here first. But did we want to give the cars away first before and do the drawing, or do we want to do the ops and then do the drawing?
It's up to you, Andy. Like the cars, you mean the coal cars there?
Yeah, the coal cars.
Yeah, they're just sitting over there. So
they're sad.
Yeah,
they're sad.
Ready to be boxed up and sent to the new owners. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it's time to get in there then. Let's do this. We're going to go back and do the drawing here real quick. Share the screen. Oh my goodness. All right. So we have a state. We got 99.
99.
Last call for the drawing. Here we go. All right. Andrew L says we'll ship them out on the Carrier Princess.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Wigwag
Vancouver Island.
Workshop.
Wigwag. Oh, unbelievable. He won the hoppers. Oh,
The hoppers go to Wigwag Workshop.
Didn't he win a car like last week or the week before?
No. Boy, I don't know.
Hey, he's got horseshoes tonight.
Yeah. Well done, Wigwag. Send me an email at Second Section Podcast with your contact information on where you want us to mail that. Since you didn't buy it, the wife doesn't, can know about it. We won't have to send it to that second address for you. So,
Right.
yeah, where all the packages go. So, congratulations.
The P.O. box.
The P.O. box. Congratulations, Wigwag. Hey there.
Yeah, congratulations.
As you say.
2 nice cars.
All right. So back on Boomer Cam here. So set the scene here. We got the switchers, the idler car, the tank is down. What's next here for the ops?
Okay, so I just want to mention about like this view that you see here. I have the camera set up. Like this is what it looks like, the actual prototype from the Alex Fraser Bridge. Like if you go across or walk across and you look down with a telephoto lens, this is pretty much. I mean, it's a few minor changes. Do you want me to mention what I revised on this track plan, Andy? Or
yeah, why don't you take us through that a little bit?
Okay, so the original track plan looks like this, except this track right here is not there. It should be there because it's a bottleneck with the auto rack. Like they talked about that during their development on the prototype, but they didn't do it. But this track, I basically took this track, which was a parallel spur beside this warehouse.
Okay.
And so because I had to compress the scene like this way as well, like we don't just compress in a linear way, we compress depth as well. I thought, well, I want a couple of things. Is I have to compress the scene so I won't have room. It won't make sense to have 2 spurs back there against the warehouse. So what I'll do is I'll turn it into a siding or a runaround as well to serve double duty and to create more operational options, right? So that's why I did it. Yeah, so that's why I did it.
It's a good idea.
I'm really glad I did it because now it's a runaround and I can run 2 6-axles and a 60-foot car down to the very end and change tracks as well. And I also have a fairly lengthy lead to service 2 cars at a time at this warehouse right here. So, and then this track serves as a transload too, right?
Oh, that's right.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And that's for Action Steel?
Yeah, for Action Steel, which is prototypical as well. And, it doesn't feel cluttery because when you're running a couple of switchers, like you have all these options, but yet it's still prototypical, but a compressed footprint. But this actual whole scene all the way down is fairly faithful to the prototype. I mean, that was important to me. So, yeah.
I think this scene's really cool, and especially from this vantage point, I really, really think it's just neat how you have the curves kind of sweeping around, and then you got the Carrier Princess there on the end. It's a really cool shot.
What are the radiuses for the curves out?
Okay. Thank you for asking that because Andy was saying the sweeping curve. I thought, well, I better talk about the turnout geometry.
All right.
Okay, so this section here, like when I was initially planning it, like when I got the benchwork up, like how you lay down, like what I did was I used Fast Tracks, like remember fasttracks.com, like they have.
Yep.
They're so gracious with their templates, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you use their templates, please support them. But anyway, you can download any turnout template in any scale and print it out on your printer and cut it out and lay a paper series of turnouts, in this case, curved turnouts, and get all your geometry set and then just pick the paper templates that work. And then I built all the turnouts off those paper templates to get, because all this track, like the one problem I was facing and we all face them because that's what model railroading is, right? Is problems and solving them. Was I didn't want this tight radius that just didn't look prototypical. That's one pet peeve I have is I don't like tight radiuses. So I'll accept the point to point if I can have broad curves, right? So the problem was I knew in the plan that I couldn't build the full length of the ferry because the room's not long enough. And I compressed this barge ramp and approach not much. And then I knew I had to start making the turn, but to get these turnouts in, and it was a real challenge. And then I didn't want to run the track against the wall. Because this whole layout is basically 2 feet deep. So I wanted all the track, if I could do it, within the first foot. But I also wanted space. Like I didn't want to run it on the edge either, right? Because, you'll only do it once, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then for photography purposes too, because if you can get down low, like I'm already down at sea level here, right? And the grade's up here. So this really makes for really awesome, like prototypical shots because you can get the camera below the grade, which is a challenge, right? So that was part of my madness in all of this as well, right? And I'm glad I did it. So yeah,
cool.
Yeah. And then of course there's the track back here, which is prototypical too, right? Which we'll see down there because I'll pull the camera down there when we go in. So I'll just drive this car onto the deck and then we'll do another camera switch, Andy.
All right. I love it. I absolutely love it.
So let's slow down here to 15 or 10 maybe.
So you were saying,
yeah, okay, go ahead.
You have a lot of your track buried.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, so what you're seeing right now is like 40% of my track so far, at least 40, maybe 45 is buried. There's the ferry, the ramp, the transload, and Duncan Way. And the rest, like there isn't a whole lot left that isn't buried in this particular case, right?
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I got the back stop coupler plate on. Yes, I do.
You don't want to go dumping
my Athearn Genesis tank car like this.
I just watched that episode the other day and I was sitting there going, oh man, that's such a good idea. I never would have thought of that.
The one thing I also mentioned too that I have to admit that I got kind of lucky with this ferry ramp thing. It was a lot of planning. Like I kind of knew where I was going with it, but the actual coupling and the way I was able to match the track to the ramp was a really challenging task.
I bet.
What I did was I had built this ramp, but I had a piece of tape over the end of the ramp. It was raw plastic under there because I knew ahead of time that I could peel that tape off and weld plastic blocks onto it, right? And then when I built the ferry before I painted it, I basically set the ferry up way before this amount of finish. And I clamped the ferry up to the rails. And when I lined up the rails on the deck, I got those lined up. And then when that was all glued down and filled in, I dropped those 3 blocks into those square holes and dribbled in solvent to tack those blocks, then pulled it out without being too rough, and then welded the blocks really well on there. So yeah, so that's how I did it, right? And then so now I knew when I pulled it out or back in, it would always be a perfect match. Like it wouldn't run out because there was 3 blocks and they're plastic and it won't move. Because underneath this is birch and well, there's some maple spline running down here. So if I open the door like really hard, watch. It doesn't move.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
The camera moved.
Yeah. You shook the earth.
Yeah. But so I thought of that too, right? Like when I built the ferry, I actually thought, okay, so I should have the ferry so it's square to the door. Like somebody had mentioned in comments, well, you should think outside the box and maybe swing the door the other way. Well, why would I want to do that, right? Like, I don't want to swing the door the other way, But and the ferry's not really the emphasis. It's River Road, right? So the ferry's a component, right? It's part of a suspended staging. So when I load this ferry up, let's say there's only 3 cars, like only 3 tank cars going to Superior Propane on the island, right?
Yeah.
Before I switch cameras, I'll show you pulling it off. So when I take this off, right, so the cars are locked in with the coupler plate at the back, I just lift the ferry off. It slides off easy, and it goes underneath, in theory, or in the theater of your mind, to Vancouver Island, right?
Yeah.
Right? So it's gone. The ferry's gone, and the the engineer's done his job. They're good. They're off for the day, whatever. Like, you're off, and now I can fiddle. So I can fiddle the cars down below and say, okay, I'm going to take those 3 tank cars off, and I'm putting 2 grain hoppers in. 2 empty grain hoppers are coming back tomorrow or the day after, right? And that takes, like, an operation to switch out 5 cars, let's say, takes an hour, right?
Wow.
What play factor. That is really cool. This is that's a great way to always keep your operations fresh and then have it plausible too.
Yeah, because imagine the list, right? So I haven't really ratified operations yet, because why? Like, I'm not in a rush. Like, I'm already into this layout. I'm enjoying it. And I know that the potential for, like, last mile ops is tremendous on this layout. But I have an idea what I'll be doing, but there'll be enough ops on this layout, and I haven't even done section 3 or 4 yet, or the grain ops, that'll be years to come. I mean, when you're operating with no fast clock and 15 miles an hour, like, what's the hurry?
Right.
There's none.
Right.
There's absolutely none.
Plus there's this, right? So, okay, so I bring 1 car, and, like, I come home after a hard day's work, right? And I just want to run, like, I just want to fire up, like, maybe 1 MP15's on duty for the day. I want to creep down with this load of steel, and then I'm going to unload the steel and then come back for the car or whatever, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that alone is like a 15-20 minute op that I'm content with. Right? On a shelf layout.
Yeah, that's right. So, question coming in from the chat here. So will Boomer be doing a closer view of the ferry?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So we're gonna take Boomer down here for a minute, as he does wardrobe change number 2.
Make sure I throw the reverser, Mike?
You betcha.
Oh man.
Okay, here we go with a little short blackout. Please forgive me. We'll be right back.
Sit tight. So, Mike, what do you think about this?
I tell you what, after watching how he built that Carrier Princess, to see it actually being operated live is, like, phenomenal. If you guys haven't seen his, oh man, how many videos did he have on her? 10 at least? No, more than that. It's got to be more than that, right? It's got to be closer to 15, right? Different videos on how he built the Carrier Princess. I tell you what, go watch it from start to finish. It is really worth your time. And if you don't come away with anything else out of it, matter of fact, I'm going to change the way I'm going to say that. You will come away with a new perspective on how to build a model or a kit that you're doing or anything. You absolutely will come away with a new thing. I mean, I took and I watched, he made that little Zodiac lifeboat, and I must have watched that 3 times already, just because of the way he did things, and just the attention to detail and the scratch building of details and how simple it became and looks. And it's like, not to keep bragging on it and everything like that, but it's just an amazing build, and you're doing yourself a disservice, I think, if you don't at least go and watch some of it.
And just watch it. Yeah, it's very inspirational.
Very, very. It'll help your modeling for sure. Yeah, it is. I would say that, Thomas. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. It is an absolute masterpiece. It's totally museum quality. And he's only doing what? Half? Was it half or a third of it?
A third of it, yeah.
Somebody once said I should. Who is that? That says Paul Scott August. I should build the SS Badger in S scale. Hey, you know what? There was a time that almost became a thing because I was thinking about modeling Green Bay or Kewanee to Green Bay, and I was gonna have my staging be the Ferry. Was gonna be the Badger. And I just didn't have the room for it. So,
all right, you guys ready for Ferry for the Ferry view?
Buckle up, guys, because I can see what this video already looks like. Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, we'll just.
Okay.
Look at that! Look at this! Good Lord!
Don't look at that! Don't look at that!
Look at this! Look at that! Wow.
So what you see there is the inside of the Ferry, right? So you want me to talk just about this part a little bit?
Yeah, would you please?
Yeah, because this was the so where do I start with this now? Yeah, okay. So remember, so I had this Ferry, so I did the plan in the spring. Like I had it planned tentatively, and then I drew the basic starter plan because I knew where I wanted to go with that. But the decision I had to make is sort of indicative of how it is on the larger footprint layout. Like, what do I model and what do I not model, right?
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh man, I gotta do the inside, right? Like, so that was like the inside that you see now, which I can show more of when we do a mobile camera at the end of this when I pull the car, was just like it took me like a month and a half almost, but just to do the inside of the car deck.
Wow.
Right.
Jeez.
Like
Louise.
probably close to 2 months, like with the deck too, right? And all the painting. And then the challenge was, if you look at the inner I-beams, like the curved I-beams, like there's no light bleed. Like you'll see the scuppers, like those are scuppers,
Mm-hmm.
those are meant to be there. But the challenge was to weld the actual deck, like the superstructure to the deck with no light bleed.
Wow.
Like weld it so that it doesn't come apart, right?
Right.
In 2 years or whatever. Like the biggest challenge was actually welding this, like certain parts as your sort of sub-assembly build the model. You got to be able to put plastic to plastic to weld it, and then you had to repaint those areas. Like that was the biggest challenge probably on the model, because the technical part of it was something that I'm kind of used to from past experience. But
sure.
That was the most challenging part of the whole model that I didn't really look forward to.
How long, Boomer, did it take for you to tweak the track before you really did everything you needed to do in order to make sure that when you connected it every time it's flawlessly like in place every single time? I mean, were you able to
2 or 3 weeks just touching it, and then doing other stuff, coming back to it, thinking it through. Like it wasn't just like I'm going to sit down and just knock this off in 12 hours. It was like I had to keep going back to it, and I got to sleep on this. Got to figure out how I'm going to do the plating, and then still have the points move and stuff like that. So it was sort of stacked, like incremental, along with other parts of the model that I was building and designing as well, right?
Look at this shot down the Ferry onto the slip, and what do you see in the background? Axton Steel, right? It looks like it's miles away.
Yeah, that looks like it's a quarter mile or half a mile away from everything, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, isn't that just unbelievable? I mean, David F., he says it's unbelievable because it really is. And just
it is I think it's about a quarter mile or something like that on the prototype, Andy, from the back of the Ferry, which is sort of parallel to the brewery. It is actually about a quarter of a mile, but yeah, so this is like 10 feet, right?
Yeah.
So what you're seeing, like where the camera is to Axton Steel is 10 feet. Just about 9.5 feet.
But from this camera, or from this viewpoint, it looks like it's a quarter mile away.
Yeah, I know. You want to know why? Because it's prototype modeling. And look, I don't want to sound like I'm not legalistic about prototype modeling. I think it's just an absolute fantastic discipline that you can kind of roll into and roll away from. Like, I can remember my wife saying to me, and she doesn't even know really much about, like, the only thing she knows about trains is what I tell her, really. But I remember her saying, like, why don't you just model the prototype like as a jumping off point? Like, when I got to the end of this, I was really feeling like really, like, oh man, I'm really exhausted, right? And when I got into the tree section, like the transition zone was like a total, like it was heaven to me. Like, I thought, okay, now I can just freely, like, just go at it with no prototypical dogma, or just unleash, right? And don't worry about it.
Yeah, like almost like the shackles have been let loose,
Oh yeah. And like I encourage that. But one of the reasons why you get that long view like that, now I know. It's because when you model prototypically, that's what happens, right? So look at the space that this short, like, if you go onto Google Earth, right? I challenge anyone, like, go to Google Earth, Annacis Island, look on the south side of the island, on the west side of the Alex Fraser Bridge. This scene is a speck. It's a speck. Like, you got to zoom in and look for the actual barge slip, and when you look at it, it doesn't look like much, right? But it looks good as a model, though, I think.
The attention to detail, I was saying before you came back on, the level of detail that you've added to the carrier prints. I mean, just looking along the rails, look at all the detail that's in there. How much of that I think I might know the answer, but how much of all of those details along the inner rails of the Carrier Princess is scratch built?
Well, it's all scratch built. It's all plastic. And then this is, I'm going to show you this material, the same material I used for the road when we closed tonight at Duncan Way. Like this is all acrylic, which is a sort of it's like a plastic when it cures.
Yeah.
Right. And I actually, out of this whole area, was like the most challenging was doing this track config. Like, this track config here is like, they don't use this anymore. It sort of became obsolete. Like, they were using it up to about 2010, 2011. That's when this period that is modeled. And now all the barges just have, I think, 2 or 3 turnouts right on the barge with just a straight shot right onto it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they don't bother with all this fiddling about with the Y. It's I guess it's just a recipe for issues, I guess, on the prototype. But and then notice there's 2 parallel tracks here, which I'll show you after. I'll bring the camera out and I'll show you this. Like, there's 2 parallel tracks that never get used. Like, these 2 tracks here, like, they don't get used for anything like anymore. Like, this is still operational, but they just use the center track to go straight onto a barge now.
Is that a place during your operations where you, like, are going to store the idler cars, like keep them like on those tracks, or how are you going to be doing the idler cars? Where do those get put when you're done loading the barge or the ferry?
Put, down back in front of the Slum Ladder, like in that little mini yard there. Like, they're on a siding there, like the third one. They just they just drop them there, which is why they're all got grass growing off them, because they're under this sort of tree canopy and a lot of moisture. So they're all covered in moss and rotting away. But they don't leave anything on the slip itself for safety reasons, I guess, right? Or liability. I just wired this, by the way, right? Like, you can see the bulbs, I think. Can you see the bulbs?
Yeah.
And when this thing at night, it looks unbelievable. Like this. Like, I can't do it now with this webcam, but when you see this, like, it's on another level to me. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, like, this, like, lights are a lot of work, but man, are they ever worth it? Okay, so I want to put something out to Tom Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Tom, if you're listening, Tom, if you're listening, right? Like, we all know how good you are, right? And you said, oh, I don't do lights, right? You're missing out, Tom. Okay, because it'll take your layout to another level you didn't even realize.
Beautiful.
It will, man. Like, picture it, Tom, the incandescent warm glow over the, right?
Here we go.
The fall leaves, the texture of the leaves in the car and the switcher there. Yeah. But
We're gonna have an international incident on the show here one of these days.
Ooh, we should have an international incident. That would be a show, huh?
Hey, that's a good name for a show title.
Mhm.
Okay, so
I'm writing that down.
There you
okay,
go.
so I'm gonna pull the camera out of there now, Andy.
Okay.
So just a word of warning, like I'll try to be as steady as I can, steady cam.
Okay.
So please forgive me those that get air sickness or I'll
Well,
try not to.
while we're getting you set up and ready, what we'll do, Boomer, is we'll ask a couple of questions here from the audience. So first and foremost, Andrew L is asking, does Dusty try to climb into the ship?
No.
Okay,
Only once he tried.
Only once.
Yeah.
Did it get
Only
stuck?
once, sorry. No, she got her head in there just checking it out one day, but she doesn't roam on this part of the layout anymore. She only it's off limits. I got a canvas, black canvas that I put up, and she gets to walk around section 3 where it's just plywood and sort of development there. But
So then there's another question here from Jeff Rich. He asks, how much of the overall design of River Road is geared towards photographic views like this, as opposed to the operating aspect?
Well, both, right? That's the beauty of this. As I was building it, I was thinking about that as well, right? Like I got that from film, just experience in film, like building models in film, where there were certain things that we would do, like the ferry. One of the reasons why I only built half the ferry, there's several. One is I don't have the room, right? Yeah. Like you have to accept that at some point, whatever you build, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter anyway, because you can still capture the power of the theme of what you want to model by making those kind of compromises. But then I also knew too that if I don't cut it, then how am I going to get this shot?
There you go.
Yep.
Like the light coming in, access, I can reach in with my hand. I'd be fighting and breaking things. Like it just wouldn't be like, that's how we would have done it in the movies. Well, we don't need the back of the boat, so cut it off like a stage prop and put the camera in behind. And that's all you wouldn't see, it would be cropped, right? So the question is do we crop our layout in our imagination, the theater of our mind? We do it all the time, right? Like the valance here is a crop.
Yeah.
Like the valance, the fascia is a crop, right? When you're like this, the last thing you're thinking about is the other half of the ferry, or the baseball diamond that you had to take out, or or whatever, right? Like you don't care.
Yep.
So
that's a good point.
So deletion, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to grab the camera.
All right.
Gently here, and I'm going to show you down the brewery alley, and I'm going to go over the ferry. And then what we'll do, Andy, is we'll move back to where the section 2 is.
It's a good thing I took some Dramamine.
Oh, did you?
The sea is getting rough.
Yeah, the sea is getting a little rough.
Okay, so here's the brewery alley. Like this is just over. So I can stand. So I'll go right in here. So I'm actually right in this spot now. My whole body's behind the ferry here. See?
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Isn't that sweet?
That is so awesome. Oh, there's the Zodiac.
There you are. And look at the little deck lights. The blinker there. Look at that.
Yep.
Come on now.
Yeah, right?
Oh, wow. This is amazing.
So this is one of my favorite shots right here. Like this was the first scene. This was the very first scene that I built. Like if you go back on the channel, like all the way back to like you just scroll through the videos, like you just go to the home page and you go to videos, you just roll the wheel, right? Like roll it. It'll just go. And you'll find like right to the pink foam, the plywood. and my thoughts behind this little knoll right here, like the beach, right? How I brought this part of the beach, which was 50 yards behind me on the prototype, I squeezed it into play here because it just had that, it just had a nice feel to it, right? That I wanted to make part of this scene, like a compressed scene. And then this is actually the main, but since it ended here, I just put a derail there and added that slurry pit and grain pit and that slurry vacuum system, which I also covered as well. You can see the buildings. Like, here's a good shot of the narrow. I talked about how I angle warehouse, but like just by 4 degrees at times. Like, they're not actually square. They're offset a little bit.
Isn't that awesome?
That's amazing.
They fit better, against the backdrop.
There seems to be something missing though, Boomer. I don't see your I don't see the moose.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say see if you can spot him, because I've already thought of that, and he's on the layout, but you got to look for him. Okay, so here's the so I never really see this part unless I do fiddle, right? Like I change cars out, like right here. See?
Yeah.
And then when I pull the ferry, it goes down onto this shelf down here. See that?
Nice.
Yeah.
And then you can see the wire. Like, this is the track bus on the ferry, which I didn't need to hook up for tonight because I'm not running the locomotive on the ferry. But that's so if you run lit cars and locomotives, that's the bus plug that plugs into the ferry, because the whole deck is live, right? Like, there's the frog juicer there, and so
I think it's remarkable how you've engineered the model to hold all of the electrical components.
Yeah, that's a great point, Andy.
Like,
that was a
awesome.
challenge. That was really challenging.
Yeah, like it looks like you have like the Woodland Scenics light up system.
The dimmer. Yep. So there's 2 blocks with dimmers here. I just sprayed them black because I didn't want the labels sticking out. I just wanted wanted the theater flat, back of the theater flat black. And you can see down the down the gangway here. Isn't that neat?
That's cool. There's a little bench there.
Like, there's a lot on this model that you don't really see normally. I did this side too.
Look at that.
Sort of a cross section of sorry if it goes out of focus a bit. So I'll try to okay, so I mean, I don't see that, right? When I'm operating, I'm on the layout, right? I just built enough of her to okay, so here's the if you look inside the bridge, you can see the like the moving navigation display screen in there is lit up too.
Hey, I have a question about how much of a how can I say this? How much of a temptation was it to kind of say, okay, I'm going to have these 3 sides. I don't really need to do the other side because nobody's ever going to see it, type of thing.
Yeah.
Like the side by the door hinge, by the door and everything. How much of a temptation was it to say, well, I'll do the one side, but the other side I can just not have to really get too deep into it because nobody's ever going to see that.
That's a great question, right? What don't I model? Or I mean, that's just a personal thing. Like it's easy to, like, when I was building this ferry, I was building it down on the bench, not on the layout, right? Even though I did 50 dry runs as I was building it. But I just decided that I was going to build half the length of the ferry, and I was going to do as much as I could.
Wow.
See that little red flag on the top there? Like, see how there's this little red flag here?
Yeah. Next to the Canadian flag.
Yeah, that means loading and offloading dangerous goods.
Really?
Yeah.
Like propane.
Propane and propane. Fuel stuff. I mean, this ferry basically didn't normally carry passengers because of dangerous goods. It did when it was under CP, but the role changed when it was basically used to move, dangerous goods. And then a lot of trucks and trailers eventually took over, right? And they pulled up the rails. So So let's switch back to the Axton parking lot and move our way back, Andy.
Yeah, let's do that.
So I'll just switch again, okay?
Yeah, it sounds good.
And I'll run the train back up to Duncan Way. Okay?
Yeah. So I think this is fantastic that we're getting to, see quite a bit behind the scenes, with his layout, and
yeah,
it's just fantastic.
This is beyond neat. You know what I mean? It just is. There was a good question though. Jeff Henderson brings up a good question based around what I was just asking him about. Do you model the wall side of the track, or you just model the stuff that you see? I'm actually struggling with that right now. And I'll full disclosure, I'm putting like joint bars on mine because I mean, with being an S scale, it's a little bigger. You can see those things; they're more prevalent. I'm actually only doing the side you can see. I mean, it's cost savings, number one, because you're not doing it on the opposite side where nobody's going to see it.
That's
so I mean,
true.
myself personally, I'm just doing the side you can see, or if there's a track that is going to curve to where your eye may like look down that edge, then I'll put it on both sides. Like at my interchange track, I have the joint bars on both sides there. That at least that's my thing. Hey, Boomer, there was a question. I don't know if you heard that. If there's a question about Jeff Henderson brought up, do you model the details on the track only on your wall side or the aisle side or the wall? Do you forgo the stuff on the back side?
So the backside here, like
the backside where you don't see. Do you actually detail that part of the track or just the part that you can see?
What a great question that is, right? You sneaky guy, you. But anyway,
so we know the answer now.
Yeah, we know the answer.
So the only time I do that is when I'm like in production and I like let's just say I set a camera up like this, right?
Yeah.
And then I see it, right? Because you'll find that when you photograph your layout, Andy, we were talking about that last night, remember?
Yep.
About getting a cheap camera with a nice viewfinder. You can buy used cameras and start taking photographs of your layout, right? And you'll slowly get better at it, and you'll become a better modeler because you'll start seeing stuff that you miss, and you'll see it from different angles that nobody else sees, that makes you, review things in a different light, right? So yeah, when I like move a camera like behind somewhere and I see raw steel or whatever, then I get the paintbrush out by hand or the airbrush and
you should see the weird wrist contortion I'm doing when I do the airbrushing on the wall side.
That's right. Yeah, I know. Well, you got to use. Okay, Andy, hold on. So I was wondering if you would have brought that up, right? So this is why you need one of these with a cap on it.
That's right.
So when you go like this, you don't spill it all over your station, right?
Yep.
While you're shooting the rail. And I've done that. I've done that.
Mine's the same way, right? Except I forget to put the cap on, and there'll be blotches, and then out comes the IPA, and
out comes the IPA, yeah. And okay, so another reason why I use IPA in Tamiya, because I can dissolve it with IPA. Like I've spilt paint, like whole cups and jars of paint on this layout, right? So like instead of going right, I just take IPA and flood it, and it just dilutes it all and it blends in, and it's like, oh wow, that's a nice color. Right? Yeah.
It's a happy accident, right?
It is.
Yeah,
it is
a happy accident.
Yeah. So there was one other question from one of our members here, Otter Creek in Rio Grande. Before we get rolling here, asked how many hours do you day do you model? Do you model every day? And then do you set limits to avoid burnout? So it's maybe getting a little into the psychology a bit, but if you could say, like, do you work on it every day?
What a great question, right? like that B word, right?
Right, burnout.
So, look, there's going to be people that have different opinions about this, right? Because
Sure.
we're all different. We're all different, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, like as a kid, I always loved miniatures, and I never got bored with building models, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like somebody said to me one time, well, if you build a small layout like this, like, wouldn't you get bored really fast, right? And it was like, well, wait a minute. Like, if you're bored, it's not the hobby, it's not the railroad, it's you, right?
That's
It's you,
great point.
right? So for me, I always loved building models, and then when I started doing the art of the diorama as a kid and scenes and model railroading stuff, it was just too vast for me to ever get bored, right? I mean, it was like, so now though is what I do is I structure my day. Like I think I mentioned this to Andy as well, that I got lists underneath my bench, like for the year. Like every year I map out a year, right? And I scratch them off. Like the last one I had there was River Road, the tug. I'll be okay, right?
There you go.
Oh,
I
there
did.
you go. You said you weren't going to bring that out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, okay. So I didn't burn out on this. I just like deferred it to finish the ferry, right? And so like I'm not burned out, but I need a break from that kind of build. I need to do this for a while, and then I'll go back to this. But no, I don't get burned out. I think if you plan your layout and you break it down into sections, like remember how I talked about so this is section 1 it's pretty much, I'd say 95% done. Section 2 up to the overpass is 95% done, but I'm not going to really go full on into section 3 until these 2 sections are done. I've just refused to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, I'm going to make myself do it, because it's sort of like Andy was saying, it's a psychological thing, and it's self-inspiring too, because you look back like this and you go, okay, I'm on the right track here,
Yeah.
So you got to break things down. You got to change up sometimes, like maybe do something like this.
Build a carload.
Andy showed me a tree last night. He says, look at this jack pine. I was like, Andy, do you have it? I think you need to just try to change up a bit, but have a goal, have a plan though. Like if you don't have a plan, that's a recipe for burnout and failure, actually.
It's one of the things that I've learned over the last year, where I come down to the basement almost every day now. Yep. And I have 3 different categories of work that I can do. I have the layout work, like building track work and those types of things. I have building models. And then I have building scenery, and I'm at a point now where I get to do all of those fun things. And like right now I'm in tree land, so and I'm just loving it. I'm just loving building trees. And, when I get tired of that, I'll move on to, I got a couple of box cars that I want to paint up and just kind of, move and ebb and flow with, how it suits me. But I tell you, the more and more I do on the layout, the more and more I get excited about it. And
that's exactly right, Andy. You nailed it there.
Yeah, so
and see,
say that again, Andy. The more and more
the more and more that I move along, the more and more I want to come down and build more. So
so you're changing up subcategories because you got the collective whole in mind. Another thing, Andy, I wanted to mention, because you just made me think of this. I like the way you have that small, like that layout, part of the layout behind you. It's like a petri dish where you can self-encourage and self-inspire, because you can look at that kind of like a diorama section and say, wow, like I get to touch all the skills in this square foot. Like I get to practice. Like one of the things that I learned, decades ago with sort of building dioramas, like small dioramas, was you get to do all the different subject matter in a small space in a short period of time, in the same way you would on a smaller layout.
Yeah.
It's
the postage stamp scene that you talked about.
The postage stamp scene, yeah.
So, all right. So what's the next piece of the puzzle here tonight? We're doing it?
We might as well, right?
Ooh.
Okay. All right.
Ooh.
So let me, oh man, the StreamYard giveaway tool. I don't know if it can handle it. It is.
Okay, so this car, let me just move this windsock because I'll probably knock it over. So this car, this is the latest scale trains, like refrigerator car, obviously, or cryo car. And it's got sound in it with a volume push button on the bottom. So if you get tired of the noise, and it has an LED on the genset. It's and the detail on the like it's a beautiful car. This, I don't know what else to say. It's just,
It's, I mean, it's a beauty, and
It is.
you see them now in strings, dozens of them at a time out in the world today.
Oh yeah, and they make great weathering subjects because they're white.
So if you want to win this beauty here, which has been graciously given to us by Intercity Trains and Hobbies, we're going to do #reefer on the comment, and it will get you an entry. I was going to do Reefer Madness, but I'm like, I don't know. But we're going to do.
He's even waiting for you to finish saying what you're going to say. Look at the chat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just going. It's just going crazy right now.
That is absolutely phenomenal. I can't believe. It's like, yep. Okay.
Everyone wants the Reefer. Everyone wants the Reefer.
Beautiful car. I have one myself. So
really.
But this one's going to whoever wins it. So
that's phenomenal.
So we're running. Where are we running now? We got our car back, and we're
going to head back up. We're going to head back up to 203.51 there at Duncan Way.
Going to go to Duncan Way, and I think this is going to be the last part of tonight's show. Is once we get back up to Duncan Way, Boomer's going to give us a demo.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, on the continuation or extending Duncan Way, which I'll be doing a feature video this month or next month on that, but we're going to touch it tonight. I'm going to show you a couple of techniques that I use for doing road surfaces and pinch and stab.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good method to do static grass. So, all right, let's see. Let's check back in on the giveaway tool here. Oh, for God's sakes. We got 62 entries in there already. Let's get a few more in there, and then we're up to 250 people in the chat this evening. So I'm going to make a shameless plug right now. If you guys haven't yet out in the chat and you want to see more content like this, where Boomer comes on the show and just pretty much puts on a clinic, make sure you subscribe to our channel, or at least give us a like tonight. It's a great way to support the show for free. And then also be sure to check out Intercity Trains and Hobbies. That's tonight's show sponsor. I'll have their website here. I'll drop that into the chat so you guys can pick it up and go along, and make sure that you guys are adding in the #reefer into the comment section tonight, so that you guys can get your chance to win this beautiful Scale Trains Mech Reefer. So, all right. Boomer's looks like he's got a string tangled up there. It's all good. We're going to move on.
So I'll bring this crowd car up there, and then we'll move back to Duncan Way to as the final sort of scene of the show. I guess I'll do that tutorial thing. So you want to do another quick break, Andy, or?
Yeah, why don't we do a quick break here? Let's see here. It's for the folks that want to get the ictrainsandhobbies.com. Just copy paste it out of there. The link, I don't think the link will work straight away in the chat. So make sure you take a look and just do a copy paste out of the chat. So as Boomer does wardrobe change number 4 tonight, and we still collect comments here for the entries for that giveaway. Mike, we got to go back to you and
Yeah.
how about it?
Yeah. I mean, really, what's to talk about? Honestly, I mean, it's
Yeah.
Boomer, for God's sakes. I mean, there's nothing. You hate to sound like a fanboy every single time the guy comes on, but every time he comes on, it's better and better and better and better. And I don't know if it's because I've really bought into the theories behind what he, because if you watch his videos, they're like a masterclass on how to build a model railroad, right? I mean, they really honestly are. And it's not like he says, I mean, everybody has their own opinions on how to do some things. It's not the be all end all, but it really is very inspiring. And to see this come full circle, like with the Carrier Princess, to actually see it operated live is beyond cool, you know.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun tonight. This has been awesome.
It always is when Boomer joins us, and the thing is that you know, you get the three of us in a virtual room like this, and he's so enthusiastic about, you know, the hobby, and then it's infectious, right? And then when you're talking with him and you're just like, I want a model.
I think we should I think what we should do is we should plan an on location podcast live from the SRY Railway main line in British Columbia.
That would be all right.
That'd be all right. I wouldn't say no to that
until the police get called. And
so you know, I can't, you know, like this, I can't help but mention this, like this overpass, like it's sort of an enigma, like it makes the whole layout look way bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's like, you know how we were talking about like scene dividers, like, right? And how they break up, you know, like here, like this is where I'll be moving to, like for content like this winter. So when I put this overpass here, when I designed Duncan Way, because it was unique the way it runs under the overpass, is I wanted a scene because there's going to be a ridge on the right here, like another tree line. So this is going to be like an aperture, but it's going to open up like a funnel. Right? Like IPEX plastics going down. Like I'm going to create a bit of a perspective just to give people a little bit of a primer so that when you're operating down here, like just like you're at the prototype where they're switching across this here with all the ticked off drivers, you know. No, really, right? Like they blocked the road, right? They blocked the road, whatever, right? You know, I guess there's some breaks where you can't be there more than 10 minutes, Mike, or something, or what is it?
Ish. You know, whatever.
Yeah. So what I want to do here is just show how I do pinch and stab grass here, because some people have asked about that, and I can do it. Like this is the perfect place to show that, and it won't take long. And then I want to just talk about this extension and how I treat this. Is that okay if I do that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. In the meanwhile, Boomer, is it cool if we go ahead and do the drawing for the reefer?
Yeah, right on, for sure.
All right. Let's bring back ye old giveaway tool from StreamYard here as I document all of this good stuff. All right. We got 73 in there for the reefer.
Nice.
Yeah. Good turnout tonight here on second section. Really good.
A phenomenal turnout.
So let's do the drawing. Let's hit it. Here we go. And it is Postmodern Model Works is the winner this evening.
Oh, look at that. Hey, right on, man. He's got a nice, actually, he's a great modeler, that guy.
Yes,
man.
he is.
Like, he has a channel. I don't think he's been maybe taking a break or something lately, but he's got a small layout as well, like a shelf layout, similar to Glover Road.
Yeah, and he's got some really good content out there as well. So check out his channel and make sure to send us an email at
congratulations there.
Yes.
That's
second
awesome.
section
car.
Here, let's pull the model up just one more time here so you can see it, what you're getting into here. That's so cool. And look at the unit on the end of it.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful car. The
It
one
is.
thing
such
that
a
I
neat
would do
car.
with this, though, if I can say this now that it's gone.
Oh yeah.
The one thing that I would do with this car, like, or what I'm going to do with mine, right, is I'm tearing the speaker out, and I'm putting and I'm putting in like I'm going to build a balsa wood box. There's tons of room in here. It totally transforms the sound of the gen set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I mean, it's cool that they did that, and it also has a keep alive, right? So when you put this on the track, you can take it off the track, and it'll run for what seems to be 5 minutes, but it'll just keep running. Yeah. Yeah. So that was okay. So you know how we're talking about how the like, let's just mention this for a minute here. So you know how we're in this era, the golden era of, just trains are just awesome, right? Like the detail, the modeling's off the charts, right? So they keep advancing, which is great, and I encourage that. So they got to keep alive in here. Thumbs up, right? Double thumbs up for the quality of the model, right?
Yeah.
But maybe just half a thumb for the speaker. So hopefully, like they went with the keep alive, hopefully they'll upgrade in the future, put a better speaker in, right? Like, because they sound kind of tinny. So, it compels you to turn it off, but it's a beautiful car. What can I say?
And you have a ton of space in there. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Send us an email, postmodernmodelworks at secondsectionpodcast@gmail.com. So it's time. It's time for the tutorial.
Yeah, exactly. So what I want to do is just show you here a couple of things. So everybody knows that I use this, right? For all my scenery.
Matte medium.
Yeah, matte medium. And you want to know where I learned this from? I'll show you.
Yeah.
So, like I talked about, I wasn't preconditioned by model railroading like as a kid. It was the diorama, the art of the diorama. Like these were the guys here that inspired me.
Yeah.
Francois Verlinden, Louis Pruno, Bob Letterman, Shepard Payne, right? Like these were the guys that basically, like I'll show you one photo here. And these are the guys, like they were using matte medium. But if you think like you've seen scratch building, like look at this.
Wow.
That's the Lewis gun from the Second War. Like that's all scratch built. So this guy could turn models out like you wouldn't believe, right? Like they're all passed away now, these old masters, right? And they were my inspiration. And then of course this magazine right here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, this is my favorite.
Narrow gauge and short line Gazette.
Yep.
Yeah. So everybody has their favorite magazines and inspiration, but those are some of the ones that really inspired me and taught me about matte medium, because they were using it for scenery. Because when you soak down the scenery, like it not only glues it in a flexible manner, but it's dead flat, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is matte medium right here. Watch, I can peel it off. See this? See that, how flexible it is?
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
See that?
Wow.
Look how strong that is.
That's never going to give way. So when you build trees and scenery, like you can vacuum, with a brush all day long, and it doesn't go anywhere, and it stays like loose, like flexible. If you use like this here, see this here?
Wood glue.
Yeah, like I use this to glue cork and wood down to wood and so on. But if you use it for scenery like this method, watch this. See how it snaps? It just breaks up. It just like this gets more brittle as the years go by, right? Especially with layouts. Like layouts seem to dry right out. this will never dry out.
That's
Like if you-
crazy.
Yeah, so when you grab a tree, like when you spray a tree armature with 3M,
Hmm.
right? Like if you want to do it that way, you can, but grab that tree in a couple of years, 3 or 4 years, when it's baking on your layout with swings in temperature, and the whole thing will just crumble. It'll just fall apart, and it sheds all into your track and goes up into your locomotives and just pollutes it just pollutes everything, right? That's why all of this is like soaked, like I put this in a spray bottle, like, you know, like 10%, 90% water, and I'll just soak down my scenery. So it's sort of wet and damp, and when it dries dead flat, and it's just like it's incredible, right?
Yeah.
Like it feels like this 20 years later. You know, I built layouts, like been using this method now for, I don't know, 35, 40 years. So I'll just show quickly how I do pinch and stab. Like, you don't need a static grass applicator to do this, right?
Yeah.
You can just do it by hand. Like all this down here is pinch and stab. Like people
Wow.
say, whoa, doesn't that take a long time? Nope.
It goes by quick.
It goes by really fast. So I basically grab my worst brush, and I've had this brush here since Glover Road. I don't know why. I just can't kill it.
Well, if you take care of it, it'll last.
But you know what? It's awesome for doing textures, like on roads. Like
I suppose.
I use it for paint, for matte medium, because this all washes out with water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love this brush. So what I do is I just take straight matte medium like this, and I just saturate the area. This is some earth tone Tamiya paint, or just earth color paint, like acrylic. And I just put it all over quite generously. Like this is where the pole off the overpass will go. Throw that into a jar of water. And then I just grab this, just mix some yellow faded, like 2 or 3 colors together.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, because I can paint it later if I want, right?
Yeah.
So watch this. So I take a clump like this, so my forefinger and thumb, and I pinch, right, and pull until you get a fairly hefty tuft. I just stab it and let go. That's it. Like
So
that.
what length are you using there, Boomer?
This is 12 mil.
12 millimeter.
Yeah. So watch. I can cover this. Excuse my hands a bit here. I can cover this quite quickly.
Now you can do 12 mil. Have you tried shorter lengths with the pinch and stab, like 7 or 5?
7, yeah, I've done 7,
Yeah.
but anything smaller than 7, I use the static grass applicator because it seems to be made for shorter fibers, right?
Yeah.
Like 12 mil doesn't work good with the static grass applicator. Just like it doesn't stand, right? It doesn't stand.
No.
So when this kicks off in about 4 hours, like I'll be able to reef on it in a couple of days. And I can just pinch out all the extra and then like reuse it, right? Like reuse the loose. I don't vacuum this up. Like I just pinch it off into the tray like tomorrow, and I'll recover half of it, right? So I'm just pinching and I'm stabbing it into this matte medium. And the beauty of the matte medium, it doesn't form a kind of a membrane when it starts to kick off. It stays, like it just keeps receiving the fibers like beautifully, right? And it's dead flat. It'll never leave a sheen. Like it disappears. So, I mean, I'm almost done here, right? And I've only spent a few minutes, right? Okay. So once you get into it, like you might struggle a bit, but once you start doing it, muscle memory takes over. And before you know it, you're like covering a whole area. I mean, you mix it up. You can see some here. There's some short with the static grass here. And then I just dabbed in some matte medium and then just stabbed it in like that. See? And it's even better where there's already existing short fibers. Like just take your brush and like take your brush and stab it into the existing fibers and then pinch and stab into it. And you can create different lengths and textures and colors and so on.
Different layers.
Done. Yeah. So that's done, right?
Look at that. So there was a couple people commenting in the chat tonight saying, I'm just too afraid to start scenery. Boy,
yeah, well,
that was pretty easy.
Oh yeah, just stab some glue down and then just start stabbing stuff in and don't worry about it, right? The next day you come back and do it, you'll have more confidence. And it's just an incremental thing. And before you know it, muscle memory, right? Takes over. And you're just like got the music on or whatever. You're listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
It's like you're listening to some of those earlier second section podcasts, right?
Yeah.
Or Boomer Diorama. And you're
There you go. There you go.
Know
now
it,
we're
right?
talking.
Yeah. So the next morning you get up and you look at it and you go, well, that wasn't hard, right?
Oh.
Yeah. That already looks pretty good like that.
So, Boomer, how do you decide what mill size to use for your static grass?
I just use 12 mil and then I come back with scissors and cut it down or whatever.
Yeah, because 12 mil in HO scale comes out to what? Like about how
2-3
big?
feet?
About 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah, it's tall field grass, like rough grass outside the right of way, right? Which is common, right? And then you can come in with scissors. Like I use these, like I have a set of these these are awesome, like these fly tying scissors.
Oh, there you go.
These are Griffin, I think. Yeah, go to a fly tying shop, for cutting feathers. And these things are awesome. And don't cut paper with them, but just use them for like scenery and static grass, and they're awesome.
No,
so come in here
is that flat or has it got a little curve to it?
No, but you can get curved ones though, Mike. A good point, right? Like you can get curved ones so you can scallop out the 12 mil. See, like I actually put in, like I build and scenery that proud, right? And then I cut it, and then I cut it back, and then I come in later, like I'll take some thin IPA with some like earth or yellow, like straw, like dried grass. And I'll just come in here with the airbrush. And I'll just start coloring it and fading it down. And that's the fun part.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Because all this is painted. It's all painted, but very thin, like super thin color, right? Or paint.
Do you think a cuticle scissors would work?
Oh yeah, sure.
For that? Would that be sharp? I was just going to say, would that be sharp enough to be able to cut that without like pulling?
It might be, yeah. It depends how sharp they are, but these here, like they're razor sharp, man. Like they're awesome, right? Okay, so that's why I use this, because I find it to be awesome for scenery, for trees. Like all my trees are built like glued with this. Like there's no, like if you spray 3M onto a painted tree, it's gonna eat that tree in no time, right? Slowly over time, it'll eat it. Because it's not designed for it's not designed for it. I know why people do it. Like if you're going to do, I mean, I've done it, right? I've done it with other layouts in the past, and people say, "Oh, you only get it done, right?" And you spray and dip and everything. Like I get that, right? But for a layout like this, there's no way I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So this here, okay. So this here, like there's a couple episodes on this, but I'm going to revisit this again soon. I already started a video on this. So I normally use balsa wood first for my roads. Like I think Tom Johnson mentioned about roads, like crowns on roads, which was a really good point. A lot of people don't think about that. Like there's a crown on this road and here. Well, actually not here, but there. But like you wouldn't put a crown here because it's flat rail. But here there's a crown. I showed how to build a crown into your road, right? Like you might not notice it looking down up here, but you notice it like this, and it really makes a difference, like on a smaller scene, right? And I find that balsa wood, when you lay it down for road, you can just sand it like butter. You can you can just stroke it a few times, and there's your crown, right? So it's glued down with this wood on wood or wood on cork. And then what I usually do is I got to mention this, like this you can get, like this can I've used, like I've only used this can on Olive River Road so far. I use it for sealing wood and surfaces that I'm going to put a lot of water on or something. This is outdoor water-based Varathane satin crystal clear for outdoor use, right? But I use it indoor because it's bulletproof.
Yeah.
And you can pour any of this Liquitex, any matte medium, water, even this. And it's all water soluble, right? It's all compatible. It's not going to bubble up and have a bad reaction. It's all a type of acrylic emulsion, right? All of this acrylic stuff. So I use it for compatibility reasons, like the same as like this fiber paste. So I can mix this hashtag no sponsor Liquitex or Golden. I can mix all this stuff together. Right. See this? I bet you didn't know about this. It's called glass medium. It makes unbelievable water. Like you can pour it like for water. Like
wait a minute, what is that called?
It's Liquitex glass medium. It's like a pouring resin, like it's non-toxic, but like it makes a beautiful surface of water. So does this too, isolation coat. And there's the GAC 500. Yeah, the GAC 500 too. Like I did all my water surfaces with all of this. It's all acrylic, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But I'll be revisiting the water again when I do the swamp. Like there's a creek and a swamp thing on section 3 I'll be doing. But so this is natural sand. So let me point this out. So when you go to the art store, right? Like an art supply, like or Michael's has some of this, but when you go to an art supply store and you walk right, like go in there, like if you can, like spend an hour, like just walk around in an art supply store and just be inquisitive and ask yourself, what are these? And then read the label. Like, look how it says here, effects. See that?
Yeah.
Why does it say effects?
Because it's what you can do with it, right?
It's not gonna be level and smooth, right?
Yeah. So it's this like
it's got texture,
sort of gritty, right?
Yeah.
Some people will say, well, I'm just going to use grout. Grout's awesome. And it is, right? Like grout has got all the different earth tones. But the one thing I don't like about grout personally is it's too hard. Like once it dries, it's like concrete, right? Like I can't cut into it. Like this is the seam to section 3 here. See this? Like right through the road. So there's a piece of wax paper on here, and this is bolted and pulled tight. So I'm going to be able to cut this if I move my layout one day without wrecking this. Right?
Nice.
I can revise this. And also, when I put this on, like, see how it's white?
Yeah.
This is a stainless steel palette knife you can get in our store. Every modeler should have one of these.
Oh, yes.
So when I put this on, what happens is tomorrow, it's clear. But it's gritty, like it's sand, super fine sand. So if I paint this wood gray and then I put this on top, it has this sort of depth to it that's really hard to achieve with paint, right? And then once this dries, then I come in with this here, this crackle paste, and this is how I do this look.
No way.
Like all this does it on its own. Okay, you don't have to do that. This will do. So here's the same. So there's a whole line of these, right? Like artists know this because when they paint on canvas, like I used to paint on canvas years ago, like they're mediums, they're artist mediums, right? Like military modeler, like companies will take this and get a license and add color and say this is mud.
Yeah, AK Vallejo. Yeah,
AK Vallejo. Well, because people don't know, right? Like that's how you get them into it. But if you go deeper and say, okay, I'm going to go into an art store, I want to get to the bottom of this, they have it all. And this is what this is. And you can buy it usually for less money and get larger amounts. Like this is called crackle paste, right? See that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so the trick to this stuff is you put a layer of something else, whether it's matte medium, this, or something down first. Or you seal the wood with everything. It doesn't matter, right? And this is, like, I still got enough of this left to finish this whole layout. Like, this has been right from the very beginning to here. Like, just this much, right? So this has a really good shelf life, by the way, if you keep the lid, like, keep this clean. So watch this. So what I'm going to do, like, I'll have to show this on some, like a content video. So you take this stuff and you just smear it down on top of this, right? Like, don't worry if it's kind of messy
Yeah.
because isn't that the way concrete is?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's all artists do is they're random. Artists are just random about everything. They don't do everything symmetrical. They just lay it on. Like, look at this here. Like, I can just drag this. So tomorrow, right, that's going to crack tonight, like later tonight. It's going to have all these cracks in it, right?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Okay, so now I got like 2 layers on there, right?
Yeah.
That you can't see this layer yet, but you will. When you take this here, only 2 colors do you need. These are both Vallejos. So this is dark sea gray and this is dark gray blue, right? Water-based, compatible. It won't coagulate it or wreck it. So when this dries, you can wait a week if you want, a few days. You can sand it, add more texture. Then just wet this down and then I just go like that, right? And then move it around with a brush and it starts to just come alive like the road, like this. Like this is like if you go back on my channel and you look up Duncan Way, like go to the search bar, like right beside where it says, you know, on the homepage, videos, community tab, there's a little magnifying glass. So most people don't know this. You go to that magnifying glass, click on it, and a bar opens, a keyword search bar. Type in any word, Duncan Way, MP15, trees, whatever, and all the content will come up chronologically for you. And it's all there, right? And
wow.
this here was just thin stains of this. And then I left it. That's it. It's done, right? The dark goes in. You can take a little brush and just do a little bit of dark in there, but make sure it's wet on wet. And that's what it looks like. You can't beat that. Right? And it looks as good as any.
It looks like you took days to get it to look like that.
Yeah, I know.
And it doesn't. It's not, right? It's
there's
it's
no
just
need
not.
to do this. There's no need to do this, right? Because the product will do it for you. Like that's the whole point of artistry, is letting the medium do the work, right? So, and then one more thing I want to say about this. If you do this out of plaster, and people do that, I've seen it, it's fine, it works. So you just smear plaster and scrape it, right? The problem with plaster is, okay, number one, it's heavy. I don't like heavy medium because it collectively builds up and your layout weighs a ton and starts to sag. And it cracks. And if you scratch it, like I can re-rail cars on here all day long and it never scratches.
Yep.
Because acrylic is the most scratch resistant medium there is, right?
It's funny too, because like if
That's why.
you'll see sometimes if snowplow comes on like a grade crossing, it'll chip the plaster, and all of a sudden you got this big white spot.
Yeah, you got to repaint it.
You got to repaint it. Oh my gosh!
Not here. Like if you scratch through it, like another layer of gray shows. You know, looks like a
real road.
Yeah, it does. That's how I achieve that realistic look like that. Like, it's really not that complicated. It's just that I've been doing it for so long. It gets easier, like more simpler. Like even myself, like I'll go, why are you doing that? Like you already achieved it. Like leave it now. You know, like I do that sometimes. I'll overwork it. No, leave it. Or put too much paint on and the effect is lost, right?
Been there.
Yeah. So that's the beauty of this stuff. Layers, like thin layers, like walk away, like skim it and then go do some pinch and stab over there. That's how I've built this in 3 years so far. That's how I've achieved all this.
Well, you need to let the medium. You need to let the medium dry, right? You need to let it do its thing, right?
Sometimes no. Sometimes you might be able to work it wet and it doesn't affect. You go, oh, right. Like I've heard people talk about this, and artists will tell you too that, like for me, like I'll tell you, like I welcome mistakes. Like I welcome like anomalies now. Because I've been doing the same mundane so many times over. Like I want a new look. Like I want to learn something new here, right?
Sure.
And it's always like you almost force yourself to get sort of sloppy, because sloppiness, like controlled sloppiness, brings randomness, and that's what makes things look realistic, is randomness, not symmetry. Not
especially
even
in nature.
Yeah, like trees, right?
Yeah.
Like trees are not Christmas trees. They're not like manicured.
Right.
They look like they're everywhere sometimes, right? Like, you know, they're just not random. Nothing is, right? And like this was a real this was a real like watershed moment for me when I started doing this like a decade ago, like with dioramas, with this product like acrylics. Like when I started to learn, I used to paint canvas. I thought, why wouldn't this work on a diorama? It's the same thing. It's a surface, right?
Yeah.
And it's
I just love the durability
Yeah.
of
That
your
me too.
layout.
and I can cut this with a knife. I can actually slice this with a knife. Try and do that with grout. Try
Yeah.
and do it with plaster and watch what happens. It'll just wreck it, right? Not this stuff. Take a nice sharp Olfa knife and I'm gonna put a slice down there. If I ever have to move this or if I sell it, like this thing's coming apart, like it's 1, 2, 3. Professional. It's going to be professional and clean. It's going to bolt up together with a little bit of work to fix it. That's it. That's why I do it like that. You can do it any way you want, but the only reason why I do it this way is because this is the way I am, right? And it gets, and like it gets me to a point where I have all this invested and I'm not putting it to the Sawzall, not this one.
No.
No, it's too much work, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Too much work.
Boomer, have you ever been driving around and then all of a sudden seen something on the side of the road or and go, hey, I've got the perfect spot to put something like that on the layout?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I was talking to Andy about that. I got a picture up there that's like this whole wall. I'll show it eventually. It's covered in photographs, like taped, like all inspiration, like right here. Like here's one binder. Like these are taped all over my backdrop.
Oh, birch trees.
Birch trees. Yep.
Okay, there it is there. And you remember the swamp?
The bog, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the right of way, the CN main is like I can throw a rock. It's just right past these trees, like just over here is a crossing. So this is a mile away from my house, right? So when I saw this like this summer, I just pulled out my camera. I pulled over and I just started taking pictures. It's this sort of dried swamp and all these trees are dead. There's no foliage because they were flooded out. They couldn't get oxygen to the roots because they're underwater all the time, right?
Yeah.
And it has a creek. There's a creek running through here. And in the spring, it starts to sprout all this green stuff. It just looks unreal, right? Like with the tree line behind it and the dead tree in the dried swamp. So this is pasted up here. Like I'm going to model this on section 3, like a sliver of it.
Oh,
Wow, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, with the dead trees, like no foliage on those trees, right? They'll be all like there's a really nice one that I used when I built Silver Creek.
oh, that was such a cool diorama.
Yeah, this was the main inspiration for Silver Creek. When I saw that, I thought that's what it looks like where I go fishing up in Hope, where I saw the black bear up there and stuff. It's just like this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So photographs are important for inspiration, right? We get inspired from photographs too, right?
Yes.
Don't we? Right.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
And we all have a camera.
Yeah. Yep.
We got our phone, click, click, right?
Yep, that's true. That's very
So,
true.
wow, yeah. What a fun. Oh, is it over already?
It is. It is.
I want
It
to
is.
model. I want to model tonight.
Yeah. So yes, I do too. I have more trees to
I can't
build.
wait. Yeah, no, you inspire me. Like all my subscribers and all the viewers, the second section, thank you so much, right? Really,
Yes.
like, thank you. Like, I just want to take just a moment just to say, like, thank you, Andy and Mike, for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Well,
You
thank
guys
you for
are
coming
awesome,
on.
man.
Yeah,
I mean, you
thank
guys, sorry?
I said thank you for coming on. It's the honors.
Oh, yeah, I
honors.
enjoy it. I really enjoy it. Like the thing is I don't like I guess the one downside to the kind of introvert, the introvert lone wolf kind of guy. I mean, I have a few friends, but I don't spend a lot of time doing other things. I get why people do. We're all different personalities, right? But I've always spent a lot of time modeling like my whole life.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
the one thing, like my wife told me a couple of years ago before I started the channel, she said, you need to share it. You need to pay it back. Right? Like those people that you learn from.
Yeah.
that are passed on now. Like, you learned from those people, so you need to tell them now behind you, help them out, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no secrets, right? Like, I mean, there is little things that you learn to do that you kind of covet a bit, that you maybe don't say or whatever. But the thing is if you hang on to them, right, it's like you fill the cup, right? Like, you're full, and then you just keep cycling the same stuff over and over again. Dump it, like, unload it all, and then be open to new, like, creativity, like new stuff, like this, like trying new stuff, and just share it. It's a community one way or another, whether it's social media or the real world. It's still a community, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that philosophy of essentially paying it forward, and teach the next generation, right?
Okay, so we're gonna probably close now. Like, what is it? Oh, it's 2.5 hours, eh?
Yeah.
Like I said, I had,
like 10 minutes.
how many people are with us still, Andy?
We got 240 still hanging out with us.
Oh, okay, well, just hold on.
Yeah.
Couple of things. If it's okay with you, can I mention like a couple of little product things?
Yes, you can.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tons of people ask me, what are you using for the switch stands? Okay. If you call Intercity Trains and Hobbies, right?
Yep.
Phone them up or go on their webpage, email them, ask them about these. They have about, I don't know how many they have, 30 left or something. These are the nicest switch stands you'll ever get, like the CN BCR style. Look at the photo etch, like the targets and the handles, and they're old school resin, but they're beautiful, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like, these are nicer than my metal ones. So I bought a couple packs. I didn't want to hoard them, so you can get some. But this guy that did this, or family, like, they're done. Like it's over, but so there's some of them left, right? And you might want to get yourself a few packs of these because they are beautiful switch stands. And if you check out S&M Models, the guy that does this truck here, remember this truck?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
The cab over.
40,000 views. Like, I never saw that coming, right?
Right?
Yeah, like this 3D truck. He does switch stands to die for that are CP style. 3D with metal rod, like, beautiful, right? But you got to ask for them. And all his trucks, by the way, they all sell out like within 3 days. Like, every time. He's got, like, there's 3 or 4 that he has, and they're just gone. And like I'm really happy that I got a few of them because they're beauties. They really are.
They're fantastic. Yep.
And here is what I promised to show, the auction pieces that'll be auctioned at Intercity Trains and Hobbies this month. I believe they're going to put the auction out next week. So these are 3 units that I custom painted. I did this locomotive, the Stash 9 by Athearn Genesis, and it is a beautiful model. Like, I want one myself, right? You know how it is, right? But this thing, and I'll have to admit, I'm a Loke Sound version 5 guy, but
whoa, I'm waking up.
like, this model is gorgeous, man. It is a gorgeous model. It really is. Like, the model itself, stock out of the box.
Wow.
And the radio chatter, I do like that about Tsunami too, is the radio chatter, right?
Yeah. You can just hear it coming through.
So this is going to be auctioned off, these 3 units. So whoever.
So when is that going on?
You have to check Intercity Trains and Hobbies. They'll probably be announcing it next week. So I'm going to take these to the shop tomorrow because I just finished painting all of these. So
also want to make a plug for their Facebook page. So for those who are on Facebook, they're posting every day, and it's Intercity Trains and Hobbies on Facebook. I'll put a link in the chat here so you guys can pull that as well. Really cool like like a really good hobby shop Facebook page. They're always posting stuff. What's new consignment or estate stuff that they get in, and it's just super engaging. Good stuff there from Inner City. So certainly check that out as well.
Yeah, I'm really lucky that like I haven't had a hobby shop out here for like before Inner City kind of came into town here, like just over a year ago. Like all the hobby shops were disappearing, right?
Yeah.
Like we could probably talk about that in closing. Like I've watched like in the last 20 years, like I grew up in hobby shops, right? Like as a kid, I loved them. Like I remember the first hobby shop when I was a kid called Grand Prix Hobbies in Kitsilano in Vancouver, BC. Was like two or three blocks away from my house. I would collect pop bottles and beer bottles in back alleys to like pull money together to buy models, right, from that store. Like I'd walk up to the window and I'd look in and trains and models. It's like, oh my, this is unreal, man. I gotta get that, right? And you know, it was just like I was always there, right? Getting a model, like a monogram, you know, Grant tank or something, you know, and then the trains, like I think I still have a train from way back then, like an Atherton with some of the very original, like Bachman and Atherton, like blue box stuff. But yeah, it was just like hobby shops were everywhere. Like Van Hobbies, like Van Hobbies was known around the world for doing brass, like Canadian steam and. Okay, yeah, there's the Inner City Trains and Hobbies right there. The Boomer models will be auctioned with full proceeds going to BC Children's Hospital. Yeah, right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah, so hobby shops were disappearing, right? Like they had One Stop Hobby, they had some in town here, and then the trains were sort of disappearing, and nobody was doing trains out here. Like it was like you had to go to Vancouver to Central Hobbies, right? And that's 50 miles. Like I just, you know, yeah, thanks, yeah. And anyway, so when Inner City Trains and Hobbies, I won't get into all that maybe in another episode, but when they came out here, they're like 5 minutes from my house. It's like, no way, man. Before I started this layout, right? It's like, what's going on, right? So it's like I can't stay out of that place, right? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, so, and they're so awesome. Like, look, I don't want to get too relishy, but, you know, I've heard it said out there, I'll just say this, but it might upset some people, but look, I get the online thing. I really do. And I know there's a younger generation that producing, you know, like the Rapidos and scale trains, like they're producing awesome stuff and they're very online centric, but you're never going to get rid of the brick and mortar store. You want to know why? Because it's cherished by people from every walk of life. When I go into Inner City on a Saturday, I see 6-year-old kids jumping like out of their shoes and 70-year-old people. Oh yeah. 80-year-old people into trains.
Yeah.
Like every nation too. And like it's unreal. So I got this letter, right? This is a good letter to close on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to share just part of it with you. Like I get a bit of fan mail, you know what I mean? Yeah. So this guy sends me these cars, like they're the pipe cars. They are, where are they? Oh, okay, they're over here. You've probably seen these before, right? By remember BLMA, Andy, Mike? Remember?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I should do this for him because when you hear the letter, like you'll okay. So I go to Intercity Trains and Hobbies, you know, a couple times a week, right? And they'll have a package there for me. I don't do emails because I can't handle the email. It's just too much, right? Like I can't. Like I go out of my way. I spend time to answer every comment on my channel. I read every single comment. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I try to answer every single question there is. Like if I gave my email out, like that would be the end of it. Like I don't have the time. You know what I mean? Like I'm very structured, but there's no room, right? There's no room to fit it in. So like if somebody really wants to get a hold of me, then they know Intercity Hobbies has no problem taking the call and giving it, you know, referring it to me, right? So I get this letter, like this box, right? And they go, oh, hey, there's something for Boomer. Merry Christmas, right? So I get this, I think there's like, 3 of these cars and these pipe loads, right? And this guy sends me this letter and I'll just read you this thing, right? To Boomer, I am a retired coal miner, 88 and 3/4 years old. 88 and 3/4, right? Like, remember when you were a kid when you said you were 11 and
Oh
a
yeah.
half?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it's
Oh
not
yeah.
funny, right? Like, when you're really young, you want to say you're older or say half the year, whatever. And this guy is 88 and 3/4 years old, right? That was so funny. I have been crippled, can still walk 50 to 100 feet before I need to lean against something to ease the spinal hips and knee pain. That's what happens, right? I'm the youth of old age, but I know you start to get the pain and the aches and stuff, right? But imagine him, 88 and 3/4 years old. I have been a model railroader since 1948.
Wow.
Right?
Holy.
This guy's way before online stuff, and that's the way he
Mm.
still thinks, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way he probably takes his grandchild to the brick and mortar store. During the steam era, right? I have so much brass locomotives. Hey, Joe, time to start selling. Enough about me. Amen. Right? And then he says this, like, he says, please don't tell my name. Sending you these cars, long pipe loads, la da da. And then he says, Boomer, you are one great modeler. I follow you on YouTube. Thanks for making an old man happy. Mm. That is one of the reasons why I do the channel. I don't care about the money. I really don't.
Yeah.
Right? I don't need it, right? You know what I mean? Like, I really don't. Like, I do this because I love doing it and I love to share it. That's why I do it. But because people invest their time, which is money, into the channel, it benefits me and the channel. And so this layout that you see here is really all the subscribers in some ways layout in a way. They're the ones that inspire it and support it and inspire me to continue to want to build and share it. And that's why, you know, because of people like this, right? So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you do. And because it inspires us and it inspires Mike and I to keep doing what we're doing when we hear stories like this. So
yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So I do want to, as we TWNTY, you know, class.
So questions, yeah, okay. So I'll answer some questions that people.
And we'll do a little bit of lightning round here. A
little Q&A with Boomer.
Yeah, a little Q&A with Boomer, but I do want to talk, give the ability for the section crew to throw some of those in there, and then we'll close up for tonight. We'll take a few questions, but we have some admin stuff. We are going to be coming back with a show next week on the 21st before the United States Thanksgiving. So I think we're going to have Chris Palmieri back on from Home Shops if my calendar is up to date, and we're going to be talking about that V&O locomotive.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty neat. That's going to be slick.
Yeah. So, and just a note here from Inner City Trains and Hobbies. Thank you, Mike and Andy, for giving us a chance to sponsor your amazing show and all that you do for the hobby. The pleasure was all ours.
Absolutely.
From our end. We love doing this, and we have no, you know, like I said, we love to pay it forward, and just happy that you guys wanted to come along for the ride. So, yep. So make sure you guys check us out next week. We'll have the Home Shops crew back on. It's going to be a great Home Shops is always a good time. Good hangout, and we're gonna talk about that V&O thing that they're doing with that locomotive, which it's going to be an expensive show for me because I know the credit card is coming out. I know the credit card is coming out. So
I have bought more HO.
Leave it in the car, Andy. Leave it in the car. No,
I can't. I got it memorized. It's a curse having this memory.
More HO stuff since Palmieri's gotten on the show than I can imagine in the last 5 years.
Yeah, well, he'll do it for you.
I know.
Yeah.
So we got a question.
He does nice work. I like what he's doing there. Actually, I like that freelance, sort of role that he's doing in the industry there. I actually have a soft spot for the 50-foot high cubes myself, but
Oh,
It's another one.
I can get lots on the ferry. I can get more on the ferry than the 60-footers. Yeah.
there you go. There you go. Yeah. So just a quick question here from Justin to Trains. Hey Boomer, do you have any new tips on making blackberry bushes? Thanks for all your knowledge that you share. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, so the ones that it's funny that you bring it up because this was my first, like I had some here, but they got kind of KO'd over it when I was reaching over for a year and a half. And then I redid them with sisal rope, that you can buy a rope from the hardware store. And then I just cut pieces about 2 inches long because I cut off and throw away later, and then just unravel it and then glue the bottom, like dip the bottom in matte medium and just put it, like do 100 or 200 on wax paper, where just the stem, you just soak the bottom just to glue the cut sisal rope, like, and then just unravel it. Like, when they're dry, like just unravel the top and then dip it in matte medium, the unravel part, and just sprinkle 12 mil static grass all over it. Right. And then shake them off. So there's your branch structure that you can just spray bomb paint.
Yeah. So I have an example of
sprinkle,
just that.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
there
what
you go. Yeah.
This is what he's talking about. So this is the sisal rope, and I basically just here, let me get the blocking here.
Yeah.
So you can see where I've dipped the base in the matte medium, and then basically then just created a tree armature. You can since you have it coated in matte medium, you can just really mangle this thing and get it to where you need it to be. So
wow, Andy, your layout's looking awesome there. I'm staring at it right over your shoulder. Can we have a little, like a wide look at that?
Yeah, sure. This is where we're at right now.
Wow.
So yeah. And then we're working our way back down the peninsula here. So once I get my second camera set up, you'll be able to see the Pine River Wood Products. I did a scratch build building there, and then I did some like a wood chip pile and a log pile and some more trees, and painted the backdrops, and turned out really great. So yeah, it's awesome. Coming along. It's coming along.
It's looking really good. Like the crossing there, like that color there. You get kind of a sort of a mauvey umber in there over the gray or something there. That's
yes. Yeah, it's
it looks great, man.
Yeah.
It blends in well, Andy. It blends in with the other colors quite well. It looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's and truth be told, it's I watch one of your videos on YouTube. I come running down the stairs, and and then I play with it, and until it turns out. So yeah,
this is cracking. This is already cracking here.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really good.
So
wow,
so very awesome. Good. Mike, do you have any questions for Boomer before we sign off for tonight?
I've got 1,000 of them, but no, I really don't. I mean, it's always an honor to have you on there, Boomer.
Yeah.
And you've inspired me, even though I'm not an HO scale. The thing that I love about your videos is they transcend scales. So it doesn't matter if you're in Z scale, N scale, HO, SO, it doesn't matter. I found it very intriguing, the fact that when you did your videos on your O scale boxcar, how many things
cool.
that was such an amazing series of videos that I actually found myself, I'm like, okay, this is large scale stuff he's doing here. I really need to pay attention to this because I'm a large scale modeler, I figure anything above HO, right? So I mean, it's so there are certain things that I can take away from that, and then I go back and I watch other videos, and I'm like, I can bring that up here too. So there's really nothing that just says this has got to be HO. You're modeling. You're modeling it.
Yeah.
And that's
translates to any scale. Translates to any scale.
Yeah.
Like any scratch building, it all translates. I mean, that's the beauty of the model railroad. It's just Like,
Yeah.
especially with terrain, like you can just throw stuff at it and it doesn't look half bad, right? It's like,
No.
you know, and you just learn as you go. Like the one thing that I've kind of got away with, I should mention too, that I never realized it especially the last 3 years is like I really like oil paint. I really do. Like I know Tom Johnson uses oil paint and I know why he does, because it's awesome. You know, it's really the best, richest pigment paint you can ever use. But acrylic paints are so good now and they dry so fast, you can really move like
Mhm.
layers of processes way faster than oils. Like they're a little bit different learning curve, but when you start learning to use acrylics like wet on wet, like for this kind of stuff, wow, it's real, like it dries so fast, right? That's part of the reason why people are afraid of it, because it dries too fast for them and they get caught, you know. But I find just use lots of water and let the water do the work for you, and you'd be surprised what you can achieve. And but oils are, I have them all, I love them, but I just don't use them as much anymore. Maybe it's because I'm lazy or something, but
I don't think
yeah, I
that's.
mean, I don't
I
know, right?
think you're anywhere near
I think it's
lazy.
efficient.
Uh,
Is I
well, I
think is
just, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't really have to use them, but I know what people do. Like even the rust on the Ferry, I was going to use oils like at the end because they make unreal
Mhm.
streaking rust, but I just did it with acrylic, and I thought I'm going to just do it with the acrylic with a wet brush, and it worked. And it was
Yep.
dry in like 5 minutes. It was done. I could touch it, and it wouldn't move, right?
Mm.
So, but you know, paint is a thing for it's a challenge for everybody. And the reason why I don't use oils anymore any now is because of the toxic thing. I just can't
Oh, the
deal with it.
VOCs.
Yeah, I can't deal with it. Yeah.
No.
So, but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. It's awesome. What time is it? It's
It's about time to. I think it's about time to shut her down here. So, again, I just want to thank you, Boomer, for coming back on the show. And then in the show notes tonight, make sure you check out our sponsor, Intercity Trains and Hobbies. Thank you so much to them for everything that they've done for us on the show tonight. Really appreciate it. And I think if you haven't yet, oh, look at this. For those who stayed
Oh.
late, use the coupon IC Train second section for 10% off all secondhand items
oh, okay.
in the next
All right.
48 hours.
Wow, look at that.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
Yes.
Do you still have people in the second section there?
We have almost 200 people here yet. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Don't they go
Our-
to bed over there?
No, they just love it. We love it. It's so fun to sit around and talk
I
about
forgot
things.
about the coupon thing. Like, wasn't that part of the? We got so excited we forgot about it.
Yeah, we did. So anyways, so make sure you check out Boomer at his channel as well. If you haven't, please, and you want to learn, it's the place to go. So go over to Boomer Dioramas channel. I put a link to that in the show notes as well. And again, Boomer, thanks. Thanks
You're
for everything
welcome.
you do.
Yeah, thank you very
Thank you
much.
for having me, all of you, and thank all of you to the second section crew for showing up and supporting the channel.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll see you all next week
Yeah.
with our friends from Home Shops. Good night, everyone.
Night.